Chapter 26. Protect Master Carry. The 8th seat, giant shield 10,000 arms, stepped forward, and 2 large, exaggerated shields completely covered Carry's figure. "Thank you." After taking the robe, Carry wrapped it around himself and looked at Sig with a vigilant look. "I don't feel sorry at all, don't look at me like that." Forget it, Sig felt that this grandma was still worthy of praise. Even though such a precious prop was taken away from her, she was still able to remain calm when facing him. But what should he do with this group of people? It is definitely not possible to kill them all. That would arouse the church's high alert, and they would shrink into their shells like turtles, and then they would not be able to accomplish anything they wanted to do. Except for Juisajamun, no one else is to be feared. But we just pay more attention to Juisajamun, and she cannot affect the overall situation. Ainz had speculated to him that with the full strength of Nazarick, it could face more than 300 level 100 players, and it would be easy to destroy the theocracy. But as a former human being, Sig might not feel anything if he kills some people. He still doesn't want to conquer the world at the cost of exterminating humans. Ainz probably thinks the same way. Therefore, the most appropriate way to deal with the theocracy is to focus on obtaining information about its movements and plant spies there. Now, all eyes are on Sig. Because no one could read his active thoughts behind the mask, in the eyes of others, he was just standing there in a daze holding his Cheongsam. After capturing the most beautiful city, it returned to its original position and seemed to have no intention of launching another attack. Captain Shenron came to this conclusion. Although he also thought about retreating, the current situation was too clear and acting rashly was definitely not a good decision. It would be great if they could communicate, but is the other party really willing to let them go? Carry's voice came. "I think it's not that the allure of the country didn't fail, it's just that something went wrong." "Captain, do you need me to summon a monster to test it?" After a brief thought, Captain Shenron nodded. Even though he was once arrogant enough to say that he alone was the Black Scripture, he couldn't think of a better way now. "Please, Quinn Eyes. Don't be so polite. This is what I should do as the 5th seat." The elegant blonde young man smiled, although it was forced, it was enough. A crimson owl was summoned, and out of instinctive fear, it immediately wanted to flee from here, but under control it still flew tremblingly towards where Sig was. Sig had already noticed the man with short blonde hair among the 12 men and women. The 5th seat is one-man division, Clementine's brother. They look 70% similar, and he seems to be a good candidate for a spy. Thinking of this, Sig restrained his aura and allowed the owl to get closer. When the distance was only 10 meters, he suddenly raised his head. His eyes emitting sharp red light could be seen through his armor. There was a rustling sound in the forest, and it was getting closer and closer, as if it was right next to my ear. "Everyone, alert!" The Komodo captain raised his spear, his body tensed, and suddenly the armored figure took up most of his vision. There was no sound of collision when the weapons collided. Captain Shenron's eyes widened in surprise. He felt as if he had hit a wall of air and was facing an absolute barrier. How is that possible? This is a feeling I have never experienced before, even in a desperate battle. There is absolutely no possibility of winning. Unbeatable. He glanced at his companions and found that they were being attacked by the Shadow Dragon and were unable to take care of themselves. A level 40 Shadow Dragon was easy for him to kill, but humans of the same level were no match for dragons, and even sophisticated gadgets could not make up for the difference. Sig deliberately slowed down his movements, and naturally saw the expression on Captain God's face, and couldn't help but smile. After the last lesson, he definitely couldn't summon low-level followers just to save magic power. The Shadow Dragon's combat effectiveness at night cannot be compared with that during the day, but it is enough to deal with the remaining people. Soon under the attack of a considerable number of Shadow Dragons, the formation became chaotic, and the captain of the team was beaten by Sig alone and could not go to support. The command fell to Carry. She glanced at the captain of the Divine Man and said decisively, "Escape separately. These dragons won't be too far away from their master." Soon, Captain Shenron also discovered the clue. The farther the two were from each other, the slower their attacks became. Perhaps after a certain limit, the other side would give up the fight. After being kicked with great force, he did not choose to stabilize his body. Instead, he used the force to retreat backwards and turned around and ran away in embarrassment. Seeing this, Sig stopped chasing and just stayed where he was quietly. "Very good." Captain Shenron breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look for his teammates. Sig's expression was complicated at this time. Although he really wanted to capture a divine being for Xiao Di to conduct research, if this person disappeared, the church would most likely take the same action as the complete destruction of the Black Scripture. However, it is not certain about the others. In order to avoid being harassed, they have to act as cleanly as if they were eaten by a dragon to ensure that 5 or 6 people survive. Shaltir, are you done over there? I need you to capture a few humans. Yes, I have captured a man who can use martial arts, and I will rush to Lord Sig immediately. Shaltir's high-pitched voice came, and it was obvious that she was in a good mood. It seems that in her normal state, Shaltir would never allow Brain to escape through the secret passage, so it is a good thing that she can suppress him. Remember to suppress the blood frenzy. I promise the President will reward you. Sig said as he confirmed the location of the members of the Black Scripture through his followers. Lord Ainz, I would be honored, but what about Lord Sig? I also want to receive your reward. Sig thought about it and decided that he really couldn't always use Ainz as a shield. Of course, if you come over to help now, I can give it to you right away. Thank you Master Sig, I'll be right there. Sig heard Shaltir yelling and asked the vampire bride to pick him up and leave quickly. He thought of that scene and found it inexplicably funny, although he felt a little sorry for her. Shaltir looks like a girl of 13 or 14, and is only 140 centimeters tall. Unless she changes back to her original form, her movement speed is indeed not very fast. If he didn't have the capture skill, Shaltir wouldn't have come all the way here. The only mind control system can only be used on a single target and can be used 3 times a day, with a 1-hour cooldown each time. It is far less useful than her capture all races group. It's about time. Sig put away his beauty, confirmed the location and opened the portal. Good evening, you are. I seem to have forgotten to ask your name, One-Man Division? I guess I can call you that. Who are you? Ainz was shocked and frightened, and a very wonderful expression appeared on his calm face. He found that he could not control his monster. Sig raised his mask, revealing a kind smile. A strange mark appeared on his hand, and then he covered it. You should be thankful that you have a good sister, hehe. Chapter 27. Dragon Knight is not a profession that gets along well with dragons, and Sig and his dragon companion do not have a so-called partnership. To put it simply, they are master and servant. Domination spell is a necessary skill for taming dragons and belongs to the special mind control system. It has a specialization effect on dragons, and will obtain a completely loyal slave. The caster will not change much compared to before, and the effect lasts until the caster dies. But the control effect on other races is very poor. Of course, there is a prerequisite that you must reach level 70 or above to resist. This is why he let the captain of the God-Man go. Just beating him up and leaving him with a black eye was already a great mercy. Ainz ha sia koentia, I am here to meet the master. Ainz knelt down excitedly, and his magical beasts also crawled on the ground following their master. Sig immediately noticed the crimson owl. Most of its feathers had fallen off under the attack of the shadow dragon, and some parts of it were already bald, but it had not suffered any fatal damage. In fact, the maximum level of these monsters is 20. In order to ensure Ainz's survival, he let the shadow dragon go. Stand up. You don't have to be so respectful. You will be my direct subordinate from now on. Sig touched the owl's head and cast a recovery spell on it, causing feathers to grow back on the bald spots. The most basic of the sacred magic is life recovery magic, so it is natural for him to use it. He is also considered a half-priest with a LV10 sacred cavalry profession. It's an honor to be a servant. Looking at the owl, envy appeared in Ainz's eyes, and Sig thought he must have seen it wrong. Could it be that the domination spell could not be used on humans? To be honest, he had only used it on dragons. Hey, Ainz, do you know what you should do? I'd like to hear the details. I'll obey my master's orders. Ainz's face turned red due to excitement, showing an extremely abnormal excitement. Is this guy one of these guys? Sig had this question in his mind. This pair of brother and sister are not normal. The contrast between before and after is so great that it really gives people goosebumps. I hope there are no strange side effects. Almost at the same time, in the suburbs of Yelantire. Mr. Fifei, has the master sent a message again? The girl had a gentle smile on her face and a pair of pure eyes that seemed only possessed by the purest people. She was wearing a pure white dress and a veil of the same color. Although it was an ordinary nun's outfit, it made her look very beautiful. No one would doubt her identity because this is what a saint should be like. Hearing him address him as his master, Ainz was stunned for a moment, but then he realized, not yet. Sig-san is probably busy. Don't worry too much, Clementine. No, I just haven't seen my master for a long time, so I missed him a little. Clementine said sincerely, I'm sorry if I made Mr. Fifei unhappy. Oh, is that so? Then after we finish the mission, let's call Sig-san over to play with us for a while. Ainz said with a smile. Although the wordplay is not quite accurate, we might perform missions together at that time, but there is no need to pay so much attention to Clementine. Is it really possible? Don't worry, I'm confident that I can succeed. Ainz couldn't help but recall his adventure companions. Now he only had Sig by his side. Even if he didn't form an adventurer team with him, it would be nice to let him feel the atmosphere. Good Sig would certainly agree. Thank you, Mr. Fifei. Clementine bowed. My lord, allow me to interrupt you for a moment. Who exactly is the master that Miss Clementine is talking about? Hamsuk asked, raising his little paw. It would have been better if he didn't say anything. Ainz almost forgot that he was riding a hamster. A wave of shame surged into his heart. My companion. Hamsuk flicked his tail, are you an adventurer like the Lord? You'll meet him soon. He loves cute animals. Maybe you'll get along well. Sig once expressed his desire to have a pet, but was troubled by the lack of conditions to feed it. Ainz casually asked him what type he liked. The original words were, it's better if a pet is obedient, but a cute one might be good too. Hamsuk thought that his lord was joking. He didn't seem to have anything to do with cuteness. His figure was obviously very tall and majestic, otherwise he would not be called the wise king of the forest. But since it is the Lord's words, as a subordinate, I have no position to refute. Hamsuk's eyes gradually became firm, I will definitely work hard. What does this have to do with hard work? Ainz secretly complained in his heart, but this look full of wisdom is really silly and cute. Mr. Fifei, should we take action now? The undead were already close at hand. If they delayed any further, Irantel might be lost, and in that case, the meaning of saving the city would be lost. Well, let's go and act according to the original plan. Ainz's eyes flashed red, and he was going to get serious. The dark hero charged into the tide of the undead, led the saint and the wise king of the forest to victory, and ultimately saved Irantel. This is the result of the final record. Mr. Fifei, I'm leaving first. Ainz nodded. Go ahead. Be sure to ensure Enfiria's safety. While you are in Nazarick, the double phantom will disguise itself as you, so you don't have to worry about being suspected. I naturally believe in the judgment of you gentlemen. Clementine took off her white robe, revealing the bikini-style light armor underneath. Although she changed her job to that of a saint, her original job as a stabbing warrior would not be affected. Humans can learn many more jobs than other races. Ainz felt a little embarrassed to receive such praise. This was all done by Demiurge, and the people were brought by Sig. It felt like he was really of no use. As he casually split the skeleton in front of him, Ainz muttered, I wonder what Sig-san is doing right now. So that's how it is. Master wants me to use the identity of the Black Scripture to steal information from the theocracy. Quin-Ai suddenly realized. Shaltir bared her sharp teeth. How can you use the word steal to describe the information that Lord Sig wants to know? Mind your choice of words, my lowly servant. Quin-Ai bowed his head and apologized quickly, it's my fault, but I didn't get much information, I'm afraid it will disappoint the master. For the first time, I can get in touch with a person of the level of the chief priest. Should I? Sig interrupted him, I don't feel comfortable with that. In comparison, I trust you more. I hope that you brothers and sisters can be loyal to Nazarick and serve me at the same time. As for the use of the domination spell, I had no choice but to do it. Please don't mind. The moment I saw the master's figure, I felt as if I saw the coming of God. It was a wonderful feeling. Thank you for the master's gift. No, it was God. Well, I'm glad you think so. As expected of Lord Sig. You're so amazing. Infected by this atmosphere, Shaltir clapped her hands in admiration. Stop talking, I feel like I did something wrong. Sig held his forehead with his hand. The character design of the protagonist, simplified version. Name, Sigris Hrasvag, Sig for short, title, Dragon Blood Knight of Deathwing Height, 182 race, Dragon Man level, 100, race level 50 plus occupation level 50, attribute, neutral, justice value 10, occupational position, warrior, rare specialized race, forward, property, HP 100% MP 72% physical attack, 95% physical defense, 95% agility, 85% magic attack, 32% magical defense, 79% comprehensive resistance, 99% specificity, 100% total, 757% characteristics. Dragons have endless lifespans, but dragonmen are an alien species, so their lifespans are similar to those of elves, and they are an immortal species. Racial class, Dragonman LV50, specialized race, occupational level, Dragon Knight LV5, Holy Cavalry LV10, Weapon Expert LV5, Language Master LV1, Special Class Dragon Slayer LV5, Hidden Profession Dragon Priest LV5, Other Skill, Shapeshifting, Transfiguration, Domination Spell, Mount Summoning, Mounting, Mount Strengthening, Companion Contract, Beast Instinct, Dragon's Eye, Instant Armament, Frost Freeze, Dragon, Star Shattering, Holy Judgment, Protection Magic, Healing Magic, Advanced Flying Magic, Pseudo-Dragon Symbiosis Origin of Magic, All, Weapons and Tools, Primary Weapon, World-Class Props Gungnir, made from the branches of the World Tree, the oath made to the spear will never be regretted and will surely be fulfilled. Its prototype is a javelin, which can be thrown through everything. When thrown, it is like a meteor streaking through the sky, so it is also called the meteor spear. Eye of Balor, amplification attribute, additional instant death attribute. Secondary weapon, almost all weapons can be used as long as they are not required for special professions. The body can also be used as a weapon, but is relatively fragile and can be healed by healing magic. Armor, main, dragon scale black armor, full body armor, artifact grade, superior attributes, a pitch black armor that looks like it is shining with stars, the light is due to the special effects obtained by Krypton gold. Silver blue armor, the most suitable armor for human form. It abandons some properties and can be equipped with multiple items. Black improved suit, everyday clothing in Nazarick. Dark iron light armor, it looks the same as ordinary armor, but its properties surpass those of armor made of fine steel. Evaluation, possesses the strongest physical strength in the entire guild, and his melee combat ability is comparable to that of Takamai. He can be equipped with multiple artifacts and has almost no particular weaknesses or restraints. Because of his profession, he has an absolute advantage over dragons, and has a large number of dragon-specific skills and item weapons. His race and profession levels are evenly matched. Black Scripture. The 5th place is one-man division. Name, Quinus Hacia Kuntia, a professional beast summoner who can engage in group combat by summoning beasts. He can summon at least 10 beasts to fight together. All 10 fingers are equipped with rings with levels between 29 and 40. Known to be able to summon, Giant Basilisk, Crimson Owl. Clementine's brother, a calm and gentle man with a smile who is good at summoning and commanding multiple monsters for team battles. Black Scripture. The first-ranked captain of the Divine Man, level 70 or above. The chief of the Black Scripture, one of only 3 gods in the church who have awakened the blood of the gods. When they go out, the members of the Black Scripture will wear magic masks to disguise themselves in different appearances. The captain who takes off the mask is not yet an adult, 20 years old is considered an adult in the church. According to Shalter's judgment, her strength is far above that of the combat maid Saryaka. Chapter 28. After the teleportation was completed, Sig and Shaltir arrived at the outskirts of Nazarick. The raised mountains were covered with dense vegetation, as if it had been like this for a long time. But in fact, this place was a plain a dozen days ago. Thanks to Mare's earth magic, it was disguised into its current appearance. The surface of Nazarick was completely covered up, leaving only the final entrance, the central temple, which was surrounded by an illusion wall. Even if someone special were to come and investigate, they probably wouldn't be able to find any clues. That's quite presentable, Shaltir commented. Then a red light flashed across her body and she smiled sweetly. I will cast flying magic on Sig-sama. I can't let dust get on your clothes. Since that's what he said, there's no need for Sig to refuse. Because his main profession is warrior, his MP recovery is relatively slow, and controlling spells is a skill that consumes a lot of mana, so he simply did not reject Shalter's kindness. It is worth mentioning that there is not much difference in sensory perception between using flying magic and wings. No matter which method is used, the flying state achieved is similar. In fact, Sig uses wings to fly, probably because he has his own flying magic. After all, it also consumes magic power. Thank you for your help, Shaltir. It is my honor to share Lord Sig's worries. Moreover, I have to work hard to get the reward. Since you have completed the task brilliantly, you deserve it. If you don't like the appearance, wearable items can usually be changed using data crystals. I am worthy of the title of the world-class tool that can topple a country. Thank you, Lord Sig, for the reward. Because they were flying in the air, Shaltir couldn't kneel down for the sake of her manners, but her words were still full of respect. Vampires already have good mind control skills. With props with matching attributes, tasks will be easier to complete and more gameplay can be developed. Well, it's good that you like it, but if the president asks, just tell him that I gave it to you privately. Sig instructed, but remember not to show off to others. Especially Albedo, it gives me a headache just thinking about it. Ah, is this a little secret between Sig-sama and me? Shaltir held her cheeks with both hands. Sig looked at the central temple in the distance and his flying speed suddenly dropped. He said earnestly, Shaltir, if I wasn't here this time, there's a high chance that you would be controlled by the enemy. I don't need to tell you the consequences of betraying Nazarick. Shaltir's tone was so firm that it sounded more like a shout because of her high pitch. I will not betray Nazarick. Lord Sig. That's why I gave you this world-class item. You and your guardians have the same status in my heart, and I don't want you to have any grudges because of this. If others knew that you received special treatment, they might ask to take back the reward together. Sig lowered his voice, you know what I mean, Shaltir. Shaltir was startled and clutched the hem of her skirt tightly, not knowing what to do. I understand. But since I have given you this item, it means you deserve it. Not only did you suppress the blood frenzy, but you also completed the task perfectly. I can't think of a better reward. A total of 7 useful people were captured, including 5 people who could use the stunning old lady and the dark scripture. 6 people were let go, and a nail clipper could barely be counted as one. Overall, the harvest was quite fruitful. Sig looked at Shaltir's exquisite outfit, and the hand that wanted to touch her head only patted her back lightly. Let's go, Shaltir-chan. There should be no problem with calling it this way, since no one will correct the Supreme Being's mistake anyway. In an invisible place, Shaltir's eyes flickered red, and she seemed about to fall into a blood frenzy, but she quickly returned to normal. She wiped her mouth and said, oops, just be patient for a while. I can't make a fool of myself in front of the Supreme Being. Although the blood frenzy can be suppressed, it is easy to reach the threshold if you always hold it in. Just vent it out in your own territory when you return. Master Sig, welcome back. Albedo flapped her wings happily with a bright smile on her face, and Yuri, who was following behind her, also greeted her. Albedo, please come and greet us in person. Where is the president? Sig looked around. Albedo understood what he meant and said immediately, Lord Ainz has returned. Demiurge is reporting on the progress of the mission. Lord Sig, please move to the throne room. Let's not disturb them for now. Let's wait in the lounge for a while. Shaltir, if you have nothing to do, please go back first. Sig turned around and said. Albedo's voice became colder, or more precisely, more serious. It was no longer that gentle tone. Shaltir, do you have anything to report to Ainz-sama? No. Shaltir snorted. In the past, she just had to tell Demiurge what happened. How would she know how to report the mission status? She lifted the hem of her skirt gently, Master Sig, I will take my leave first. Sig nodded, go back and rest. Activating the ring, he teleported to a lounge. Yuri was standing at the door as a waiter. Sig looked at the shy Albedo and said, sit down, Albedo. You've worked hard, too. Albedo wanted to refuse, but when she saw Sig's smiling face, she couldn't help but sit down next to him. Yes, sir. Although Sig himself thinks that this half-human face is not handsome, and it is indeed so from a human perspective, but in the great tomb of Nazarick, no matter which form it is perfect. Even Shaltir admitted this, but she was just being stubborn because of her habit. Feeling the sofa beside him sink a bit, Sig smelled a strange fragrance. Could it be body odor? It felt quite magical and seemed a little familiar. Albedo stretched out her wings and just happened to sweep the tail. She hurried over to ask, Master Sig, are you feeling unwell? I'm so sorry, it was my mistake. It's okay, my tail isn't sensitive, you can touch it if you don't believe me. Sig only felt a very slight touch, and if Albedo hadn't said it, he wouldn't have noticed it. On the contrary, being so close, the scent was totally impossible to ignore. Is it okay? Albedo touched the scaly tail and let out a slight laugh, as if she was suppressing something. 5 minutes later, Sig couldn't help but say, Albedo, it's okay now. Albedo withdrew her hand with a look of dissatisfaction, and then exclaimed in surprise as if she had done something wrong. What's wrong? It's so rude of you to just touch Lord Sig. Would you like to touch my wings too? Albedo took Sig's hand with anticipation. Chapter 29. After the report, a figure walked out of the conference room. When there was no one around, he could sigh tiredly. This was his first complete failure as the captain of the Black Scripture. Not only did he lose half of his men, but he also lost the precious items left by the 6 gods. Even Lord Carey's whereabouts were unknown. He absolutely did not believe that he was eaten by a dragon, but no other traces were found at the scene. Even if the 5th seat Queen Ainz sent out monsters to search, nothing was found. Instead, Astrology 1000 Miles observed a man in silver armor in the air, but it was not certain that he was the one who attacked them, as he just flashed by and disappeared. There wouldn't be such coincidences in the world, and he couldn't be 100% sure it was the same person. Moreover, the spirit of Astrology 1000 Miles had already had some problems because of the disappearance of his companion. Why are you sighing? This is not like your style. The girl in front of him was a special seat of the Black Scripture. Juicy. Although she looked only 15 or 16 years old, few people knew her real age. At least it had not changed since she became the first seat. He smiled bitterly, you can read the report I wrote for the details. I won't look at it. Tell me what you want. Juicy looked over with his pair of black and white pupils, as if he had the magical power to see through people's hearts. On the way to subdue the Dragon King of Destruction, we encountered the mysterious Dragon King who destroyed the Holy Scripture of Sunlight. We lost half of our men and finally retreated. Is that guy very strong? How does he compare to me? Juicy asked casually. Maybe he's better than you. He said this helplessly. Although he knew it might annoy the person in front of him, he still said it. Oh, if it's the Dragon King, then it can't be a female. Yes, I have seen his human form. He is indeed a male, but I cannot describe his detailed appearance now. It may be some kind of interference magic at work. Juicy was silent for a moment, then he reached out and touched his lower abdomen with a morbid smile. No matter what race he is, if someone who can defeat me appears, then how strong will our child be? I'm a little curious. Captain Shenron knew clearly that Juicy was opposed to marriage and childbirth, so his smile now was indeed not sincere. Ah, Lord Sig, please don't have pity on me. This is my honor. It seems that you are a little uncomfortable, so why not forget it? No, although I'm a little shy, this is a sign of comfort. You can be a little harder. Ah Sig-san, what are you doing? Ainz heard strange noises as soon as he entered the room, and couldn't help but think of something wrong. Because he was too excited, he was more like angry, and several green lights flashed above his head. No matter how anxious you are, you can't do this in the lounge, Sig-san. It's the president. Albedo asked me to touch her wings. What are you thinking about? Sig stood up with his hands raised and said helplessly. Albedo put away her blushing cheeks and stood up, but her eyes kept drifting towards Sig's face, and a strand of alopecia on her head kept shaking. Albedo. Should you explain? Demiurge had a very complicated expression. Although his tone was cold, it was not accusatory. It was more like he was trying to give the person a way out. Albedo had an apologetic expression on her face, and against the backdrop of her pure white dress, she looked like an angel who had made a mistake, innocent and pure. My apologies, Insama. I requested this without your permission. I didn't expect you to hear such filthy noises. No, it's not dirty. I am very pleased to see your intimate interaction, but you must be careful about the occasion in the future. There are children in Nazarick. The setting was originally changed by Ainz, so he wouldn't actually feel uncomfortable seeing such a scene, but Mare and Aura are still children, so this situation could easily lead to misunderstanding. Yes, I understand. I will pay attention to it. Albedo bowed and stepped aside respectfully to give the two supreme beings space to talk. As soon as Sig sat down, the maid brought desserts from somewhere and filled up the table near him. Is the chef so enthusiastic? Although I like to eat these, I will get tired of them if I eat too much. It is very impolite to eat while talking. I immediately asked them to leave and told the chef not to do this. No. Sig still likes to eat, but he is afraid that he will dislike it if he eats too much. For this reason, he always deliberately buys less of the food he likes. Now it seems that he doesn't have to worry so much. You can only eat such delicious food when you go home. You can't waste the servant's kindness. Do you want to try a piece, Albedo? Albedo made a sound of panic. Eating food fed by Lord Sig himself? This was something she had never imagined. Albedo, don't be polite. Since Sig-san has said so, just accept it, otherwise he will be angry. Ainz said with a smile. He always felt envious every time he ate, but this time was completely different. He wanted to see how Sig dealt with women. With the mentality of an old father marrying off his daughter, now is the moment of testing. Sig looked at Ainz helplessly. What kind of image did he have in the other's eyes? Then I'll be welcome, Master Sig. Albedo bent down and gently opened her red lips. From Sig's perspective, he could even see her red and tender tongue and clean teeth. Sig didn't hesitate and placed a piece of cake of appropriate size to Albedo's lips. Then he turned around and asked, Demiurge, do you want some? Do Yuri and Nabe want some? What are you doing, Sig-san? Can't you see that a black aura is emanating from Albedo's body? Ainz shouted in his heart. Demiurge pushed his glasses up, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, wanting to laugh but not daring to. I just came back from the ranch, and I'm afraid I'm covered in a lot of dust, so I'm not fit to eat. And maids can't eat while they're working, please forgive me, Sig-sama. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, Ainz quickly changed the subject. Ahem, Demiurge, the skin you gave me can be used to make a low-level scroll. It's very well made. Thank you for your praise, Ainz-sama. I am currently working on capturing wild animals that can provide skins. The ranch will be built soon, and I believe we will be able to have a stable supply soon. Demiurge put a heavy emphasis on the word beast. Sig suddenly thought of something. What kind of beast is it? Demiurge hesitated for a moment, then smiled happily and said, it's a two-legged sheep from the Holy Kingdom. How about calling it the Abelian sheep? Two-legged sheep. Probably some kind of magical beast. I remember encountering something similar. Ainz replied. Albedo and Demiurge smiled at the same time, but Yuri frowned slightly. Chapter 30. Although they are wild beasts, it is better not to overharvest them. It would be bad if it causes ecological problems. Sig said slowly. Please don't worry. In most cases, they can be reused by using healing magic. However, if they refuse treatment, the effect of the magic will be reduced, and we won't be able to get the most satisfactory result. Demiurge explained softly, with a slightly distressed expression. Then I'll give you this prop. After a moment's silence, Sig took out a white feather with strange patterns on it that looked like blood vessels and emitted a faint glow. The item is called God's Healing, also known as Raphael's Feather. The item dropped after conquering the 10 angels of the Tree of Life, who are the enemies of the world. Although it is not world-class, it is an absolute artifact. It's a pity that it can't be used as combat equipment. It takes too long to activate. It's better to use active skills. Its collection value is greater than its usage value. It is even more useless now, because when the divine healing spell is activated, it will not only heal physical pain, but also affect the mind of the person being cast, making him forget the painful process. Both the body and the mind will be in a pure state of happiness all the time. It is called brainwashing feathers by many players and can be said to be very useless. Demiurge uttered an exclamation, then fell to his knees with a thud, and the others followed suit. Master Sig, how can I accept such a precious item? Besides, it's a personal item. Strictly speaking, this is what Ulbert left behind. He gave it to me for safekeeping after he got it. If I give it to you, it will be considered as returning it to its original owner. Just consider it a reward for your hard work. Sig did not give Demiurge a chance to refuse. President, you also think this is a good decision, right? Ainz understood what he meant and agreed. Well, Demiurge, just accept it. I don't want to repeat the same advice a second time. Everyone, stand up. As you command. I will not let the two supreme beings down. Thank you, Lord Sig, for your mercy. Demiurge accepted it respectfully. It's just false compassion. After all, Sig doesn't really care about the life or death of the two-legged sheep. False care can sometimes be much more terrifying than superficial cruelty. Even so, he smiled and said, I just don't want Nazarick to be accused of disrespecting life. Demiurge, just go ahead and do it. I thank Lord Sig for his generosity on their behalf. Demiurge exclaimed in admiration. Sig Sama's decision was indeed a far-sighted one. By the way, Yuri, the family bathroom on the 9th floor is empty, right? You should take a good wash after coming back from such a long absence. This skeleton body definitely could not be exposed, so there was naturally no way to clean it outside. Although it was not very dirty, it would still collect a lot of dust, which Ainz could not tolerate. When Sebastian is not around, many things are managed by Lee because the penguins really can't convince the public. Yes. Yuri pushed up her glasses and gave a look. Nabe immediately said, I will go and bring Sanji-kun here now. Well, go ahead. Who is that? Didn't you suggest that I take a bath in slime? Sig reacted and realized that the slime was called Sanji-kun, which was Ainz's naming style. Onstan's frank attitude was in stark contrast to when he said that it would never be used. He originally wanted to complain, but in the end, the words never came out of his mouth. Anyway, they were just his own thoughts. Sig smiled at Ainz, is that so? Albedo seized the opportunity and asked, Sig-sama, do you need me to scrub your back? It must be troublesome to wash your body by yourself. No. Sig refused without hesitation. Deep down, he couldn't accept mixed bathing between men and women, especially since it wasn't just two people bathing together. Ainz also felt that this was a bit too much. He still wanted to chat with Sig, so he waved his hand and sent everyone away. If there is anything happening at the Adventurers Guild, please inform me immediately. Don't bother us with other trivial matters. Yes. Watching everyone leave the room, Sig casually picked up a piece of cake and threw it into his mouth, which was completely different from his previous proper image. Ainz was somewhat envious of such a natural transformation. But if you think about it carefully, Sig must be very tired, and he is just holding on so as not to worry himself. Sig-san, let's go take a bath and relax. I can help you clean your body. I can just transform into human form. I've become much more skilled recently. Sig politely declined. It feels weird to be touched by bones, so forget it. Ainz asked in surprise, oh, is this okay? After all, it is also transformed using magic, so we just need to cleanse one form. Magic is truly amazing. I just traveled here not long ago, but I feel like I can't live in a place without magic. Sig nodded in agreement, so we have to live well in this world and not waste the opportunity God has given us. That's true, Sig-san, let's work together. Being a ruler is not easy, but it is his responsibility. Even if Sig didn't say it, Ainz knew that the pressure on the other party was no less than his. How could he possibly give up? Of course, President. Sig replied with a smile. Although I feel a little sorry for Ainz, he is indeed in a bad state now and is rather slack most of the time. If he had continued with his previous work attitude, the true Dragon King would probably have been wiped out. I have a lot to say, please don't bother me later. Me too, don't be surprised. Why are you still so depressed? Sig asked while touching the big hamster. Why didn't you tell me such an important thing earlier? What if you were controlled? Ainz said worriedly. I have a world-class item with me, so there's no need to worry. You should be more worried about Shaltir. Indeed, she only has a divine-level dropper spear. So I gave her the world-class items I seized. It seems that the guy who traveled to this world also brought a lot of things. At this point, Ainz felt a bit of a headache. 6 great gods, 8 desire kings, 13 heroes, and now the theocracy. I'm afraid the existence of tiered magic in this world is also caused by players. Don't worry, Ainz Olgaun has not been defeated. Sig gave him a comforting look. Ainz couldn't help but say, Sig-san, what would we do without you? My lord, no matter who the enemy is, I will do my best. Hamsuk showed a determined look. Although he didn't understand it at all, it didn't stop him from showing his loyalty. What is this giant rat? Remember this clearly. I am the Jakaria hamster. The Lord gave me the name Hamsuk. Sig said regretfully, but this fur is really nice. It would be nice if we could make it into a blanket so we can carry it with us. Hamsuk shrank back in fear. Another person was trying to skin him alive. This place was truly terrifying. Please don't do this. Chapter 31. Lord Ainz, Lord Sig, welcome to the 6th floor. When Hamsuk was feeling anxious, Aura dropped from the sky like a savior. She trotted over at a very fast speed, as swift as a wild beast. Sister, slow down. I can't keep up. Mare, who was following behind her, pulled her skirt down while running, with a subtle pigeon-toed running posture. Really? We can't keep you two adults waiting. As the distance between them got closer, Aura slammed on the brakes and stopped, followed by Mare who also stopped panting. It's Aura and Mare. Do you want some candy? Like a bad uncle, Sig took out a handful of colorful candies from his pocket with a gentle smile on his face. Ah, Lord Sig, this is so embarrassing. Yeah, there's no need to entertain us like this. It was just a few candies. Sig thought there was no need to make such a fuss. Hard work will be rewarded, don't be so quick to refuse. The two looked at each other and showed shy expressions at the same time. Thank you, Master Sig. You are still children. Remember to brush your teeth after eating candy, otherwise you will get cavities. Looking at this heartwarming scene, Ainz said with a smile. Yes, I will pay attention to it. Yeah, I'll remember that, too. Because of the setting, Mare is unable to take care of himself most of the time in life, so he felt a little guilty when he said this, and his face turned even redder. Sig smiled and patted his head, but of course he didn't forget Aura, and children had to be treated equally. Ainz asked, by the way, did Hamsuk cause any trouble for you? Hamsuk's level is too low and he doesn't have the corresponding resistance, so there is no place for him in other classes. The 6th floor had a vast forest with pleasant air and temperature, even more suitable than the forest climate where Hamsuk originally lived. Ainz felt that this was the most suitable place for breeding. Aura shook her head. He hasn't caused any trouble. I've already told my monsters not to attack him, so there shouldn't be any problem. Thinking of those monsters that exuded a terrifying aura, Hamsuk shuddered with fear. My lord, I want to know if there are dragons in the forest. Well, there are 2 dragons, didn't you tell me that, Aura? Sorry, it was my mistake. No, I don't mean to blame you. Watching Aura apologize sincerely, inside. He thought Aura and Hamsuk would get along well, but was he wrong? In fact, it's not that Aura dislikes it, but she prefers its soft fur. To her, the dead Hamsuk is her favorite. Hamuzuk, you also have to adapt to life in Nazarick. After all, you are my pet, so you can't make a fuss when things happen. Hamsuk nodded vigorously, I will try my best, my lord. Sig suddenly thought of something and said, I remember Hamsuk was called the wise king of the forest. He should have gained a lot of prestige by conquering him. And with the elimination of Churanon this time, his adventurer level can probably be raised to mithril level. Well, it is indeed mithril grade now, and it is still 1 level short of orichalcum grade from the highest grade of fine steel. Lord Ainz is so awesome. Aura and Mare clapped their hands together, their eyes full of admiration. Ainz blushed, feeling guilty for coaxing a child. It's a small matter. Aura, you and Mare go ahead and do your work. I won't disturb you. I might take Hamsuk away for a while. Yes, sir. After leaving the 6th floor, the two walked side by side to the 9th floor. Although I could use the teleportation ring, it was a rare opportunity for us to be alone together, so taking a walk was a good option. You? Ainz hesitated. Thinking of what was wrong before, Sig asked thoughtfully, what's wrong? Do you agree to become adventurers together? Ainz asked seriously. Ah, that thing, wasn't it talked about in the shower? It doesn't seem right. Sig shook his head regretfully. Ainz asked persistently, why? If something like that happened, the Guardians would definitely not agree to you being bait with Sebastian. Don't worry. It's possible for a while, but definitely not for a long time. If that happens, Nazarick won't have any extra manpower. Sig explained patiently. The life of an adventurer sounds very desirable, but in reality it is just doing missions all the time. There is nothing new about it and it is even more boring than your previous job. Compared to the corrupt kingdom, he is more interested in the empire. I'm always sorry, Ainz. Ainz seemed to be convinced by this reason. He was not only the guild master who was in charge of logistics, but also the ruler of Nazarick. He had to think more comprehensively about many things and could not drag Sig along with him to act willfully. However, I still need to help you advance to the A seat level as soon as possible. I will temporarily team up with you as a friend. Now that Shaltir is not under control, it is naturally impossible for Fifei to go and conquer her. The original path to becoming an adamantium rank adventurer is cut off, so she has to think of other ways. Ainz was very happy to hear such an answer. If he had a normal face, he would probably have smiled sincerely. I have thought of an identity for you. I am a talented magic caster from a foreign country. I travel all year round. When I came to Irantel, I ran into my old acquaintance Mammon, so we formed a team. Where do you live? Golden light shining pavilion, what's wrong? Sig looked conflicted. He admitted that he was a little careless and used his real human appearance and had not used any interference magic. It doesn't matter if it's a pseudonym, there should be a lot of people named Eli, and he didn't reveal his full name. In response to Ainz's questioning, he reluctantly expressed his concerns. Wouldn't it be okay if I just put on a mask? But it would be a bit troublesome to register as an adventurer. Since many people have seen him, there is a possibility of being exposed. The Adventurers Guild is a place with a large flow of people, so it is inevitable that he will be recognized. Sig touched his chin and said, joining as a friend, how about this reason? Besides, there are workers in the Empire who don't need to register, so you can use this as an excuse not to register. Ainz had also heard of the Empire's workers, and immediately felt that this plan was feasible. It feels like restarting a past adventure. Sig knew that Ainz was talking about the time when they played games together. It had to be said that it was indeed an unforgettable memory, but he knew that he could never go back. I met a good team. I will introduce them to you later. It's really exciting. Sig smiled sincerely. I'll discuss this with Demiurge later and start planning the specific details. The humans he released should have sent back some news by then. Not long after, Albedo came to report, Lord Ainz, Clementine reported that the people from the Adventurers Guild wanted to see you to discuss the matter of the Dragon King's revival. Chapter 32. Inside Shaltir's residence, a slovenly-looking man was kneeling on the ground. His hair was messy and his chin was covered with stubble. The muscles under his clothes looked very strong. It was obvious that they were not acquired through training. He looked more like a well-trained soldier. Brian Onglaus. He was the human who knew martial arts and whom Shaltir had captured from the thieves' den, and the only one who survived. The remaining captured thieves were sent to Demiurge's ranch, and the women they had locked up for sexual gratification were granted a painless death. Because it was too far from Nazarick, the body was not reused and was burned on the spot using dragon flame. All of this was done in compliance with Sig's orders, and Shaltir had no doubts. She also understood what it meant to let go of the Black Scripture, but there was one thing she still didn't understand. The two vampire brides noticed that their master was in a bad mood and served him carefully. Looking at herself in the mirror, Shaltir sighed, Brian, right? Let me ask you a question. Do you know why Lord Sig let those adventurers go? When the mission was almost completed, she happened to encounter a group of adventurers. She wanted to kill them quickly, but was stopped by Lord Sig. She really couldn't understand why they would let go of humans who might reveal their whereabouts. They were obviously just low-level creatures that could be killed at will. Brian's throat rolled. Unlike those vampire brides, as a follower he was more likely to feel the pressure. He spoke with difficulty, maybe it was intentional. Of course I know it was intentional. Shaltir replied sharply. Not only Brian, the vampires also knelt down, their bodies shaking like sieves. Realizing that her attitude was too intense, Shaltir returned to her seductive girlish appearance, tangling her fingers in her own silver hair and speaking in a seductive tone. Then tell me about it. Yes. Brian swallowed. If I'm not mistaken, Lord Sig must want to spread the news and attract more people to explore. Makes sense. Brian hardened his heart and said excitedly, with Lord Sig's wisdom, he must have other ideas. As a slave, I can only think of these. Forget it. I can't possibly count on you. Shaltir looked at the vampire bride. Give me a hairstyle that's suitable for a Cheongsam. My nails seem a little long. They're too fragile to be used as weapons, but it's troublesome to keep trimming them. No, that can't be said. It would be too disrespectful to Pararon Sino, who created her. Brian said, is your subordinate helping your master to trim the trees? Shaltir chuckled and extended her hand elegantly. Haha, it seems that after transforming into a vampire, you have become a qualified nail clipper. While enjoying the service, Shaltir couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. I wonder what Lady Sig is doing. She seems to miss Lord Ainz less and less these days. I wonder if she has fallen in love with someone else. Is this what it feels like to be unfaithful? It's inexplicably exciting. Nail clippers, please go out first. Yes, master. Brian felt as if he had been pardoned and ran away quickly as if there was a flood or a beast behind him. The vampire brides stood up and were about to leave, but Shaltir grabbed them and placed her hands on each of their soft bodies, her eyes gleaming with an evil light. You don't have to leave, stay here and continue to serve me. What followed was an indescribable scene. The 9th floor of the great underground tomb of Nazarick, bar. Demiurge sat on a high chair and held up a wine glass, his tail swaying slightly behind him. Lord Sig, do you like the environment here? Very good, it seems we have found a good place, and the wine tastes good too. Sig looked at the mushroom head guy who was busy behind the bar and gave him an encouraging smile. Pitch was flattered and bowed to express his gratitude. If Demiurge had not warned him not to overreact, he would have knelt down to express his gratitude. Fortunately, there was no expression on his face. The tentacle-like hand offered the newly prepared wine. This is the new drink prepared by my subordinates, please taste it, Lord Sig. Looking at the 10-layer cocktail Nazarick made with 10 colors of sweet liquor, Sig felt admiration in his heart. Although the sous chef looks strange and has no specific name, the name Pitchy is also a nickname given to him by everyone, but his cocktail mixing skills are unquestionable, and he can make various drinks and potions. Unfortunately, most people in Nazarick are resistant to poison, so Pitch is destined to not be able to see the guests get drunk because of his wine. However, most people will feel drunk because of the atmosphere, so he is sad very rarely. After clinking glasses with Demiurge, Sig drank it all in one gulp, leaving an empty glass. It tastes good. Because he was happy, Pitch wiped the wine glass much faster. Seeing this, Demiurge also showed a determined smile, and no one knew what he was thinking in his mind. Peach, you must continue to work hard, so that you can get the praise of Lord Sig. Yes, I will continue to work hard to develop new drinks. Don't worry about this. Do you have some iced happy water? I haven't had it in a while. Sig smacked his lips lightly. Peaky shed a bean-sized drop of sweat. Forgive my stupidity, but what is happy water? Demiurge frowned, as if he was also thinking seriously. Oops, I'm used to it. Sig explained, it's just Coke. It makes people feel happy when they drink it, so it has this nickname. Don't take it too seriously. Both of them showed a look of astonishment, and Demiurge, who never drank Coke, asked for one as well. Pitch was filled with shame, for he, who could mix all kinds of alcohol, actually didn't know that Coke had the special effect of making people happy. This was truly a dereliction of duty on his part. In order to prevent the situation from getting worse, Sig quickly said, Ahem, Demiurge, let's talk business first. Demiurge nodded, yes, first we need to borrow Sig Sama's followers and make him a revived Dragon King. Okay, I will summon a level 50 Shadow Dragon. Thank you for your understanding. At that time, Lord Sig will form a team with the Traveler who is chasing the Shadow Dragon King and the powerful Mammon to complete the feat of killing the Dragon King. As for the Theocracy, Sig hesitated. The people he released should have sensed that something was wrong, since they weren't fighting a Shadow Dragon after all. Demiurge pushed up his glasses. Don't worry at all. I already fully understand Sig Sama's intentions. Even I can't come up with such a perfect layout. Go ahead and let me see how you understand it. In my opinion, those people of the Theocracy do not have anyone who can be called wise. After seeing the heroic demeanor of Lord Sig, they will definitely not believe that Shadow Dragon is your true self. They are more willing to believe that it is your subordinates. That's right. If we kill his Mammon and the unknown Traveler, we'll be able to move more freely and possibly come into contact with the envoys of the Theocracy. Then we'll have a reason to invade them. Demiurge smiled cruelly. Chapter 33. Irantel. Mr. Fifei, is this the magic caster you mentioned? Inside the room, a middle-aged man who looked very majestic stood up first. Ainz nodded and turned his body slightly, a 4th-level magician. There were exclamations from the people in the room. If mastering the 3rd level of magic is the culmination of everything, the 4th level is more like a legendary figure. The thin man in a robe stood up excitedly and said, I am Theo Rakeshal, the president of the Magicians Guild. I'm Eli, nice to meet you. A voice that makes people feel like spring breeze came from under the thick mask. The man was wearing a silver-white robe with wonderful patterns drawn on it with gold threads, a well-cut fish scale soft armor, and a piece of cyan gold metal inlaid on his boots. The mask is a simple style. Apart from some decorative patterns, it only has one squinting eye that seems to be smiling. Magic casters usually behave strangely. Rakeshal himself looks neurotic. It is said that the magician of Blue Rose also wears a mask, so this outfit did not arouse suspicion. But this also makes people more curious about what is under the mask. The first man to greet him said helplessly, then let me introduce myself. I am Burton Ainz, the president of the town's Adventurers Guild. Then 3 fully armed men introduced themselves one by one. They were representatives of the Mithril level team, and the fat man sitting in the middle was the mayor of Yellentire. After taking his seat, Igfalji, the representative of the Kralgra adventurer team, showed great dissatisfaction. He was very upset that 2 outsiders broke into his territory and were respected by others. Having said that, he didn't want to offend the 4th level magician. He also knew that Fifei was stronger than him, but he just couldn't swallow that. He immediately asked, did Fifei have any great achievements in being promoted to Mithril level? Ainz replied cheerfully, I wonder if subduing the wise king of the forest and dealing with the army of the undead counts. Well, it's that thing. Those in the know exclaimed in surprise. Ainz said modestly, nothing, I just accepted the request from Brother Barrier. It's really humbling that you could be so humble. Rakeshal looked at Fifei with admiration. He even felt that after completing such an achievement, no one would say anything if he was awarded the Orichalcum level. It seems that the Magic Guild president's enthusiasm for him is also related to Fifei. This is called loving the person and loving his dog. Sig looked at Igfarji, who was about to get angry, and thought of the unlucky guy who insisted on following Fifei and caused the death of the entire team. These people's names are really hard to pronounce, especially this unlucky guy's. It's really a headache to listen to them quarreling. He said, can we talk about the Dragon King's revival now? Yes, that's the most important thing now, and that's why Mr. Eli is here. The mayor was trying to smooth things over. He didn't want to displease the great magician. What if he just gave up on him? Ainz nodded. This might be a matter of life and death for Irentel, so they couldn't quarrel over meaningless things. Now that there are no more questions, let's start the official topic. But both of you are covering your faces. It doesn't seem quite appropriate. The unlucky guy spoke again. Ainz took off his helmet, revealing a fake face created with magic. I covered it up because you are a foreigner. When it was Sig's turn, he said coldly, I was cursed by the dragon and my face has been disfigured, so I'm wearing a mask. Are you sure you want to see it? I'm very sorry, it's my mistake. Ainz lowered his attitude very low, apologized, and then looked at Igfarji with angry eyes. The other party also bowed his head and apologized, and the matter was over. Sig wasn't actually angry. If they really wanted to see it, then let them see it. Then use a magic of confusion and fear, and who knows if it would leave a shadow. I have been tracking the dragon. A few days ago, I found its traces in the suburbs of Irentel, but it disappeared soon. If I am not mistaken, the one lurking there now is his subordinate, Slater. Yes, Slater. At the end, Sig made up a name that was quite catchy. Just the men. Everyone felt a chill down their spines. How powerful would a real dragon be? You should know that just on the periphery, nearly half of the Iron Plate adventurer team were killed or injured. They couldn't help but respect this human who dared to fight against the dragon. Master Eli, you should have a way to deal with this Slater, right? The mayor couldn't help but ask, and his address changed directly from Mr. to Lord. Actually, I'm here more to deliver a message. Slater will start slaughtering the city in 3 days. Sig's cold voice was like a sledgehammer that made everyone's heads dizzy. Rakeshal asked anxiously, won't you stop it? My main target is the dragon, but I won't stand by and watch Slater do evil. My strength alone is not enough. Why don't you ask Fifei? Yes, why not ask Fifei? Ainz watched the ball being kicked back to him and took out the magic sealing crystal he had prepared in advance. It contains the 8th level magic. After the meeting, Sig couldn't help but stretching. He felt a little tired. Fortunately, the unlucky guy didn't make trouble again. But this time he learned his lesson and didn't insist on following me. Would he give luck bonus to the people around him? Ainz smiled and said, Clementine is waiting for us at the Adventurers Guild. Let's take this opportunity to make some new friends. Enfiria will also be going to Karn village soon. Sig's mind was filled with an image of a blonde boy without eyes and a naked butt wearing gauze, which left a deep impression on him. That pharmacist you mentioned? His ability to use all the tools is really troublesome. But I value his ability as a pharmacist more. He is valuable in every way. Ainz pointed at the sign of the Adventurers Guild and said, We're here. Is this Mr. Eli? He looks very young. I'm Eli, nice to meet you all. After hearing the voice, they became even more confused. It felt like the voice was too young. They clearly said that they were companions who had gone on adventures together when they were young. Fifei is a middle-aged man, and Eli can't be only in his 20s. Sig smiled and said, I am the same age as Fifei, but I used magic to preserve my voice. As for my face, it has been disfigured due to the curse, so I won't show it to you. Mr. Eli is also a magic caster. Would you like to teach our warlock? The blonde and blue-eyed young man said with a smile. Captain, please don't mention this shameful title again. It will bother Mr. Eli. The person who spoke was a boy with brown hair and blue eyes. He looked very young, very handsome, and had a kind of androgynous beauty. Ainz teased, Eli is at the 4th level. Level 4. There's no need to be so surprised, Ainz thought. Sig held his forehead helplessly, and he said that it would be better to set it to level 3, as it would be too eye-catching. Chapter 34. This silver medal team named Black Sword has a total of 4 members. The blonde young man who started the conversation was the leader. He introduced himself enthusiastically, I'm Peter Mock, and I'm glad to meet a great magician like Mr. Eli. The slender man smiled frivolously, I am the guerrilla soldier who serves as the team's eyes and ears, Laclot Pulbu, hello. I am the forest priest Dane Woodwanda. I can use some natural magic and healing magic. Please give me your guidance. The man who looked like a barbarian said gently. People would believe he was in his 30s or 40s because of his old face, but he was actually only around 20 years old. I'm Nia, a 2nd-level magic chanter. Please give me your guidance. It was the first time Nia encountered a high-level magician. She held the staff in her hand nervously and bowed. Sig looked at Ainz helplessly. The strongest magic caster here was obviously this guy, but the number of magic spells he mastered was less than 100. He only mastered a few simple types of low-level magic, mainly healing magic and ice magic. Mr. Eli, to be honest, our Nia has very good abilities, it would be worthwhile to give him some guidance. Nia blushed, don't say that, my ability is not worth mentioning. No matter how hard I try, I can't reach Mr. Eli's level. Don't be so modest. Everyone knows you are a genius. Don't say that. You can achieve it, Sig said calmly. If you grow successfully, you will reach a level close to that of Flutter Paradine of the Empire. The people who were originally fighting became quiet. The leader murmured, I heard that Flutter is the strongest magician in the human race, reaching the level of the 6th rank. You are not kidding, are you? The guerrilla soldier swallowed unconsciously. Although he knew that Nia was very talented, he never expected him to become such a big shot. You can think of it as my ability to observe. You don't have to take it too seriously. After all, this process will still take a long time. Sig stroked the mask with his hand, let me think, it will probably take several decades, and she may have become an old lady. Nia was so shocked by these words that she couldn't calm down for a long time. If it came to that, she would definitely punish the noble who kidnapped her sister. But the next sentence made her sober up all of a sudden. She may be able to wait for more than 10 years, but after decades, can she really still remember her original intention? Regardless of whether she can succeed or not, she cannot give up the opportunity that is so close to her. She mustered up her courage and said, Mr. Eli, I have an unwelcome request. Are you willing to accept me as your disciple? Hey? What's this? Ainz and Sig both had the same thought. Sig knew he was talking too much, but this person was most likely Sebastian's sister-in-law, so he gave some encouragement. Who could have thought that things would turn out like this? Not to mention a half-baked magician like him, even Ainz probably wouldn't be able to teach anyone. Can you think of a solution? Ainz knew Sig's intention without even looking at his expression from the sharp gaze through the mask. He quickly made up his mind, it's okay, Sig-san. Leave it to me. After all, he was the one who introduced them to each other, so he should be the one to handle such troublesome matters. Sig had no reason to take care of his friend. Then Fei, being the dark hero, spoke up, Eli may not stay here for long, and he has never had an apprentice, so he may not be very good at teaching people. I'm sorry, I was rude. Nia didn't hold out much hope, but felt relieved after being rejected. I received the bounty for my last adventure. I'll treat everyone to a meal. Fei said, let me treat you. When it comes to bounties, I earn the most. How can this be? Mr. Fei has already helped us a lot. Don't be so polite. I was planning to treat you to a meal to welcome Eli, who I haven't seen for a long time. Enfiria might come too. This. The guerrilla soldier said with a smile, don't refuse any more. Don't you see that Mr. Eli has no objection? We who are eating for free should just shut up and be happy. Everyone was amused by his words, and the originally depressing atmosphere suddenly became lively. Being in this joyful atmosphere, Ainz felt many new emotions. Although these humans were of no use to Nazarick, they always made him feel the joy of being with his companions. It was at times like this that he would feel the part of Suzuki Satoru that remained in his undead body. It's a good feeling anyway. By the way, where's Miss Clementine? Ainz said, she went to treat those injured by the undead. She is so kind-hearted. But I have never heard of the god she believes in. Is he called the Dragon God? Nia reminded quietly, it's the Holy Dragon God. Don't say anything wrong in front of Miss Clementine. She will be angry. Yes, it's the Holy Dragon God. It's probably from some unknown sect. Worshipping dragons as gods seems to be something that only the Council Nation or the Flying Dragon tribe would do. Listening to the guerrilla soldiers mumbling, Sig finally understood what Demiurge had done. This was probably the fifth reason he had come up with. Experiment of faith. Since the six gods, who are also game players, can become gods worshipped by the church, can they change their beliefs by transforming their believers? The heroic Clementine gave Demiurge more room to display his abilities. Of course, this did not refer to his strength. A higher level would make his body stronger and his spirit more resilient, which would increase his chances of success. Another reason why Clementine was successful was that her mind was inherently unstable, which simply means she had loopholes to exploit, and because of Sig's disruptive magic and overwhelming strength, she was able to obtain a perfect product. Clementine is now like a new life. She has become a loyal believer of the Holy Dragon and is determined to live as a saint. And that Holy Dragon, if Sig guessed correctly, was himself. He suddenly felt a little ashamed. Demiurge, you really know how to surprise me. Wrapped in the gentle white light, the boy's wounds quickly disappeared. He burst into laughter and said gratefully, thank you, sister. Clementine smiled gently. There were 7 or 8 children around her. Their eyes were clear and pure, as if they saw the most beautiful things in the world. The uncontaminated orphan, the Holy Dragon God. Lord Rasvorg will definitely like him. She let the children fall into her arms, forming a beautiful picture, and whispered, the Holy Dragon God will definitely bless you. Chapter 35. Inside the Adventurers' Tavern, the group held a lively welcome ceremony. However, Fei, who was supposed to host the guests, disappeared without a trace, and Enfiria took over the hosting duties. Fei has always had the habit of eating alone, and no one found it strange, but everyone began to become curious about how Eli ate with a mask on. Seeing that everyone's eyes were focused on him, Sig calmly placed his hand under the mask and slowly lifted it up. The mask split in the middle along the pattern, and the lower part was easily taken off. Only then did they realize that the mask was actually 2 parts. Why don't you eat? Sig tilted his head and asked puzzledly. After revealing his mouth, the originally vague voice became exceptionally clear, like a whisper in his ear. Several people were startled and quickly turned their heads away. Enfiria touched the back of his head, a blue eye faintly visible from between his hair. Combined with his brownish blonde hair, he had a very standard appearance for a kingdom citizen, with regular facial features. He smiled shyly, everyone, please eat quickly. Mr. Fei asked me to entertain everyone well, and Mr. Eli should not be reserved. After 3 rounds of drinking, almost everyone was drunk and unconscious, especially the few people who competed with Sig in drinking. Without exception, they all failed. Nia's face was slightly red from being tipsy. She was a woman disguised as a man and could not drink much, so she only drank a little. The same was true for Enfiria. Although both of them are known as geniuses, they are both easily shy, which is probably their common point. Nia asked worriedly, "Is Mr. Eli okay?" "Should be." Enfiria muttered uncertainly. Sig suddenly turned his head to look at the two of them, then paused for a long time and took off 2 rings from his fingers, a meeting gift. Even though it was carefully selected, it couldn't change the fact that it was garbage. It only had the ability to increase magical power, so players who knew a little about magic had probably thrown it away. Sig was reluctant to throw it away. Actually, he had no use for it, but he still felt it would be a shame to throw it away. Maybe it could come in handy again. Because of this idea, he became like a rag collector, storing all the props that everyone didn't want in his own small warehouse. Together with some that he had robbed, he had the most props in the entire guild. This is so precious. Yet, how can I accept a gift? The silver ring is inlaid with a small blue gem, which emits star-like light and looks like an extraordinary prop. Take it, I have a lot more. Sig threw the rings to the two of them, picked up a glass of wine and drank it. This is not a compliment, he really does have a lot. Enfiria noticed that Eli was wearing black gloves on his hands, which he did not take off even when eating. He also wore light chainmail on his wrists, and his whole body was wrapped tightly. He was just like the magic caster that Henry had mentioned. Ainz Owl gown. But since Fifei is Ainz Owl gown, it is normal for his companions to be dressed similarly. Isn't that the case for all powerful magic casters? Through clues, he has determined Fifei's true identity and has confirmed it with her. However, he will go to Khan village to live with Henry in the future, so these things have nothing to do with him anymore. Thank you, Mr. Eli. Seeing this, Nia also bowed his head to thank him. Under the influence of alcohol, he almost fell down. Fortunately, Fifei who came back pulled him up. Be careful. Do you want me to take you back? The road is not safe at night. Ainz asked very gentlemanly. Nia looked at her 3 companions who were already drunk and unconscious. She didn't say no because she couldn't carry 3 people. Thank you. Just send them to the base. Ainz carried 2 of them, while Sig also silently carried 1. Enfiria watched everything helplessly. He seemed to be excluded. Did he look so weak? Fifei is indeed tall and strong, but I didn't expect that Eli, who looks a little thin, could easily carry an adult man. It seems that he is too weak. Ainz lowered his head and said, Enfiria, please go back first. I'm sorry for calling you here without your permission and not entertaining you in person. Enfiria waved his hands hastily. If it weren't for Mr. Fifei, I would have died a long time ago. I can't trouble you anymore. After sending everyone away, only Sig and Ainz were left, and the moonlight stretched their shadows very long. As time went by, Sig's shadow seemed to gradually change into another ferocious appearance with horns and a tail. Of course it should be just an illusion. He was not so careless. It was the shadow demon that caused the shadow to change. The small black figure hiding in the shadows knelt down. Sig put on his mask again and said in a deep voice, "Tell Demiurge that the plan can begin." In the outskirts of Irantal, Demiurge was standing in front of a giant dragon. He smiled and said, "Then I'll trouble you. You must not let the Supreme Being down." The black dragon shook its huge head. "Understood, Lord Demiurge. You are Sig's retainer, so you don't have to address me as sir. By the way, is your name Slater?" "No, I don't have a name. People usually call me by my race name. I think it's the name my master gave me for the convenience of calling me." I see. Then I can call you Slater." Demiurge stroked his chin. "Of course. It is my greatest honor to be the first follower to be given a name." Slater flapped his wings happily, and the surrounding trees made rustling sounds, as if they were about to break. Demiurge did not blame him. Instead, he showed a determined smile. "Don't hold it in. You can shout it out and let those 2-legged sheep feel the power of Lord Sig." Tonight, almost all the residents of Yelantir heard the terrifying dragon roar, and it was destined to be a sleepless night. In the early morning of the next day, the president of the Adventurers Guild, Ainz, came to the door in a hurry. "Mr. Eli, Mr. Fifei, let's not talk anymore. The rest of the Mithril adventurer team is already gathering." When they arrived at the gathering place, Clementine was already there, chatting in a friendly manner with the people around her, smiling from time to time. After seeing the familiar figure, she raised her hand and greeted, "Mr. Fifei, please come over here." Ainz asked casually, "It's Clementine. Why didn't you come back to the hotel last night, and didn't you have dinner with us?" Clementine chuckled and clasped her hands together, but her words were extremely passionate. "How can a slave eat with the Lord God? I am lucky enough to be able to watch from afar." Ah, it was actually the holy dragon god himself. These lowly creatures had no idea how great the being before them was. Eli was already standing on the platform at this time. "Everyone, let's start the dragon hunt." Chapter 36. "Lord, why don't you speak? Did I do something wrong?" "Lord, Lord," Hamsuk asked in a low voice. "It's nothing." Although Ainz wanted to say so, he couldn't deceive his heart. "Stop yelling in my ear, Hamsuk." He never thought that he would ride a hamster through the streets. No matter how big it was or how famous it was, in his eyes it was just a Gokuriya hamster. Not only was it difficult to ride, it was also extremely embarrassing when everyone around you was riding a horse. "What kind of monster is this?" The adventurers who saw it all cast curious glances, exclaiming in amazement, "This monster feels amazing." Ainz opened his mouth to explain, "His name is the Wise King of the Forest. He's not some powerful person. The Wise King of the Forest. He is the legendary monster. He is so powerful." Yeah. Everyone who heard it widened their eyes. "It's really suitable for riding." Sig touched Hamsuk's head, which made everyone envious. "Thank you for the compliment. I will continue to work hard." Hamsuk showed a powerful look again. Puff. Ainz almost fainted because of the shame. "Laugh if you want to. Stop pretending." Sig coughed lightly, stood up, and mounted his horse handsomely, his white robe fluttering in the wind. "Everyone is ready. Our mission is to lure away the dragon followers and let Fifei approach Slater." Ainz replied at the right time, "Leave the rest to me. If you are affected, you may lose your life. Please remember this." The main force this time is the 3 Mithril teams and members of the Magicians Guild, which can be said to be the strongest force in Irantel. The original plan was for Fifei and Eli to solve the problem, but under the pressure of the dragon, the people of Yelantire were already in panic, and they had to take action to stabilize the people. Warrior Captain Gazef even sent someone to inquire about the matter, so the mayor did not dare to neglect it at all. This was entirely in line with Demiurge's plan. His original plan was to accomplish the feat in front of everyone, and he arranged this performance for better effect. Leave things to Demiurge, he can always make the most perfect plan and deployment. Ainz couldn't help but feel a little worried. "Mr. Eli, are you really not going to discuss the next plan anymore?" His original intention was to get together to discuss first, but he didn't expect Eli to be unexpectedly strong and quickly gathered people. Even his good friend Raxiel brought people from the Magicians Guild to help. Slater's race is a shadow dragon, with a dark attribute. He is good at moving in the dark, so it is best to launch attacks during the day. Sig tried to make his voice sound more urgent. "Slater may have discovered my existence, and he may massacre the city at any time. With Fifei's help this time, we must solve it as soon as possible." Rakeshire nodded in agreement. It was such a blessing to be able to fight alongside a powerful magician, not to mention that this also concerned the safety of everyone. "Mr. Eli is right. Behind us is Irantel." Ainz was still a little hesitant, but that didn't mean he had discovered something was wrong. As the president of the Adventurers Guild, he had to consider the safety of the adventurers. According to the investigation report, there are nearly 100 dragons lurking in the forest, and they are obviously courting death. Sig was silent for a moment, and finally said, "Because of the curse, I can reach the 5th level when facing dragons." "Is it really the 5th rank?" Ainz couldn't believe his ears. Rakeshiel screamed, "Master Eli is a 5th rank magic caster." After a brief moment of shock, Ainz bowed solemnly and apologized, "I was overthinking. I'm very sorry. I'll leave Irantel in your care." Such a rapid transformation makes one sigh that he is worthy of being the president of the Adventurers Guild. Sig just waved his hand calmly, looking into the distance. "It's just a coincidence. If you want to thank someone, thank Fifei. I'm only interested in how to kill the dragon. Of course, if this matter is resolved successfully, Mr. Fifei will be the new adamantium class. If you want to join the adventurers." Sig interrupted Ainz before he could finish his words. "Sorry, my goal is to kill the dragon, and I'm not interested in becoming an adventurer." "You don't have to apologize. I was rude." Clementine smiled devoutly. "Under the blessing of the holy dragon god, I have also learned divine magic, and it seems that it can come in handy. Holy Dragon God. Noticing that Eli's voice had turned cold, everyone realized that the great magician's hatred for dragons was not just lip service. Ainz immediately stopped Clementine from talking with his eyes and changed the subject. Can you tell us about the characteristics of the dragon? Maybe we can provide some clues. Except for me, everyone who sees the dragon is dead. A slightly mocking laugh came from under the mask, but he is a guy who is very good at pretending. If you are lucky enough to see him, someone might worship him as a holy dragon. People who don't know the situation might think Sig is mocking Clementine or her beliefs, but you have to know that the holy dragon god is himself. Ainz couldn't help but sigh. Sig was really amazing. He would even scold himself when there was something wrong, and he could easily do things like mocking himself. However, he remembered that the other party's dragon posture was indeed very similar to a holy dragon. If it appeared in front of the world in that appearance, there would definitely be people who would worship it. On the other hand, it's good enough that his skeleton body doesn't scare people. This world is really prejudiced against the undead. If there are three forces, if one of them is undead, it will definitely be besieged and will be hated by others. Ainz wanted to cry but had no tears. He shouldn't have brought up this topic, knowing full well that most magic casters had strange personalities. Fortunately, Clementine didn't say much for Fifei's sake, otherwise it would definitely cause a conflict. It is indeed inappropriate to attack other people's beliefs, but Eli is qualified to say so, so it will not affect other people's evaluation. Sig's idea was soon confirmed. When facing the attack of the Shadow Dragon, everyone looked at him with trust. Even the unlucky guy who had some objections at the beginning took the initiative to stand on the periphery. The number of deaths is controlled within 3, and the number of injured is half. After issuing such an order, Sig cut off communication with his followers and turned to cast protective magic on the people around him. Having said that, it's actually just simple healing magic. Holy professions will double the magic effect, so it will feel a little different. After entering the forest, a strange feeling came over them and many people shivered unconsciously. Although this area is densely covered with vegetation, there are no very tall trees and you can usually see warm sunshine. But the forest was particularly gloomy today. There was not a single light in sight. Only rustling sounds and strange screams could be heard, and the sounds seemed to be getting closer. Suddenly, a dark shadow attacked and knocked a magician to the ground extremely quickly, and its sharp claws scratched his arm, almost breaking it. As the monster's bloody mouth fell, a dark figure cut it in half with a sword. It was Fei holding 2 swords. Hurry up and move, the shadow dragon is very fast. In a blink of an eye, another soldier was attacked, but everyone reacted quickly and drove him away. Sig's raised hand shone, and a magic circle emitting golden light appeared in the sky. The chain emitted magical light, which seemed to be his staff. Group healing. The sacred group recovery magic can restore physical strength and eliminate fatigue for 3 to 4 people. It is the only 4th level magic he has mastered and is considered to be a relatively practical low-level magic. Leave this to us, go and kill Slater. I don't know when it started, but there were pairs of red eyes in front of me, and Eli hurriedly let Fei go first. Okay, be careful. Fei jumped on Hamsuk and rushed into the depths of the forest. Sig turned around, and with the activation of his permanent skill dragon slaying, the attributes of the people around him would increase, with the attribute of encouragement, so it seemed that the morale was not damaged by Fei's departure. But he didn't expect that this group of people with an average level of more than 10 could kill a level 40 shadow dragon. Once the signal came, it would be his task to lift the summons. Retreat. Seeing that everyone was on the verge of collapse due to the attack, Sig quickly threw a flash magic. The shadow dragon, which was originally attacking hard, retreated a few meters with a wronged look, looking scared. It's Lord Eli's magic. We must hold him back. Everyone seemed to be energized and instantly regained their motivation. And in the depths of the forest, the sounds of fierce fighting could be heard from time to time. About half an hour later, a dazzling white light and a roar resounded throughout the earth. Everyone witnessed the power of the demon sealing crystal, which is the power of the 8th level magic, a legendary power that cannot be reached by humans. Even dragons can only roar helplessly. Even if no one saw the battle scene, no one doubted the authenticity of this battle. Compared with the past, there was no doubt that everyone would die. This was the consensus of everyone. Eli, who protected them here, was undoubtedly also an extremely powerful magic caster. The 2 figures against the light were deeply imprinted in the minds of everyone present. Except that the captain of the Kralgra adventurer team died, it seemed to be a happy ending for everyone. Sig said solemnly, Igfarji was an excellent adventurer. He died for everyone. Such a sad emotion was contained in these brief words. The members of the Kralgra adventurer team hurriedly said, you don't have to blame yourself. Perhaps this is God's will. Go back, the mission was successful. Eli put on the robe that had fallen off at some point, and left. There was an inexplicable feeling of respect in everyone's eyes. If Fifei is the dark hero, then Eli is like the divine savior, mysterious and powerful. Chapter 37 Kingdom of Riestais, Court Meeting. The kingdom's warrior captain Gazef Stranov knelt before the throne. This was the first time he had seen someone swear allegiance since his safe return from Karn village. The 60-year-old Rampusa III raised his dead hand, as if he couldn't hold the symbolic scepter, and the crown looked particularly heavy on his head. The king is obviously too old, and the best option is to give up the throne to the heir and enjoy his retirement. But in fact, he also wanted to abdicate. Although there are two princes, neither of them meets expectations. The eldest prince is a reckless man, and the second prince may be a little clever, but he is also unsatisfactory. The great aristocratic faction is powerful, and once they give up the throne, the royal family will most likely become a puppet, so only he can suppress the people below in this position, and there is still no suitable successor. Stand up, Captain. I'm glad to see you back safely. Tell me what happened. Rambuza Ii's voice was very weak, but none of the nobles below dared to show a mocking expression. No other prince could do that. Gazef bowed and said, yes, as you command. He recounted in detail what had happened to him in Karn village, mentioning the magic caster named Ainz Oolgown and the warrior in silver armor, and used words of praise and appreciation. Although he was not good at speaking, it didn't seem to have any effect at this time. The king also expressed his admiration after hearing this. The warrior in silver armor, could it be that the warrior leader knows who this person is? A slightly sarcastic and frivolous voice came out, and Gazef looked up and saw the blond man standing at the back. Marquis Revan, that bat-like man who can do anything for his own benefit, maybe he is a spy for the Empire. Although I'm not sure yet, he calls himself Sigris Vrasvorg. He is a very powerful warrior. At least I can't defeat him. Gazef thought that he couldn't tell so many people that this warrior might be a silver knight, in case there was a spy among them. Hearing this, the nobles showed disdainful expressions. They thought that Gazef must have lied. To be honest, how could such a person suddenly appear? Moreover, the magic caster was also very suspicious. It is very worrying that such a suspicious person appeared in the kingdom. He should be arrested and interrogated. The nobles began to discuss the matter, some of which included the most malicious speculations. They were all from the great noble faction. One of the three nobles who supported the king, Marquis Brumlax, spoke up, of course it's not okay to just arrest people, but it's also important to find out their identities. What do you think, Knight Captain? Gazef showed an awkward look. Although this seemed like a way to save the situation, he really didn't want to say more about it. Revan showed a thoughtful expression, his thin lips pressed together. I don't remember this person, could he be using a pseudonym? Gazef said perfunctorily, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe he's a famous person. Don't they all like to expose their whereabouts? Revan smiled meaningfully and stopped talking. The meeting then moved on to the next procedure, and after it was over, the nobles left in groups of 2 or 3. Gazef accompanied the king as usual, and on the way he happened to meet a middle-aged man, who was the only person who spoke up for Gazef at the meeting, Marquis Bloomlash. Although it was a hindrance to help, Gazef was still somewhat grateful in his heart. Marquis Brumlax smiled gently, Your Majesty, and the warrior captain as well, what a coincidence. Gazef always maintained a respectful attitude towards this great nobleman who stood on the royal side. As a close confidant of the king, he was well aware of the importance of the person in front of him. Lord Brumla, I'm sorry to trouble you recently. The time for war with the Empire was approaching, and it was a critical moment. The attitude of the nobles was very important. Even though they knew that the warrior captain was murdered by a spy, no one brought up the matter. Your Majesty, you are too kind. I am very happy to see the warrior captain return safely. It would be great if I had the chance to reward those 2 people. Marquis Blumlash said with a smile. Gazef said half jokingly and half seriously, I probably can't afford to pay you back. Those 2 are not ordinary people. I think it would be nice if I could express my gratitude to them in person, thanking them for saving my most loyal confidant. Rambuza III said sincerely. You are so kind. It is our great honor to have people like the warrior captain and your majesty in the kingdom. Marquis Brumla looked outside and bowed his head apologetically. I will take my leave first. I didn't expect it would take so long without me noticing. It's okay, you go back first and don't keep your family waiting for too long. After getting permission, Lord Brumlaxo quickly disappeared from sight, looking like a very family-oriented man. I heard that Tilantir was attacked by a dragon. Yes, it seems to have been successfully resolved. You have a guess as to the true identity of Silver Armor, right? Yes, Your Majesty. The two walked slowly down the corridor, heading towards the royal chambers. At the end of the corridor, a girl wearing an exquisite crown witnessed everything. She turned around and made a shushing gesture. Climb, don't make any noise. Father looks very tired. I won't disturb him for now. Lana Thiel Chardonnay Lael Vansafe, known as the Golden Princess, is the king's most beloved youngest daughter. Because he was too close, Climb's face immediately turned red, but he couldn't bear to push her away, so he vaguely agreed, I understand, Princess. Climb, you're so silly. Didn't you just call me Lana in private? I'll be mad if you keep doing that. Your Highness, Lana, I'm sorry. I'm so stupid. Climb lowered his head hastily. Where he couldn't see, Lana was smiling happily, with an exaggerated arc at the corners of her mouth, and the moment the other person looked up, her smile turned into a pure and flawless one. Hey, Climb, if I get into danger, will you protect me? Of course. This is my duty. I will protect you with my life. Climb stood up straight with a firm face. Only Lana was reflected in his eyes. That's enough. Krem was a little dazed. Although he felt that Lana seemed to have changed a little, this should be just an illusion. Lana responded with a smile, he really was the cutest puppy, she really loved those eyes. What should she do? The kingdom seems to be in danger. Should she give those stupid guys a little warning? But if the kingdom is destroyed, no one will be able to stop the two from being together. Even Lord Brumlashu has become a running dog of the empire. The kingdom is truly rotten to the core. Perhaps destruction is the best option. Chapter 38. Meet the Master. Clementine knelt on the ground, her face full of fanaticism. Sig felt a bit of a headache. Clementine at this moment was very different from when they first met. It was only a change in temperament, but she seemed like a different person. He couldn't even recognize her. He asked, what is the mission Demiurge gave you? Yes, to spread the holy dragon cult and expand the number of believers. Clementine answered respectfully. Sig rubbed his temple. He didn't really like this kind of thing. He is a staunch atheist and respects religious beliefs but does not support them. To be honest, it's easy to be brainwashed if you blindly believe in something, and the holy dragon cult sounds like a cult. Wait, brainwashing? Does this bother the master? Clementine asked cautiously. Nothing. Demiurge probably wants to conduct a sect experiment. Just go ahead and do it. I'm very relieved. Newly emerged sects generally do not cause much waves, especially in remote towns. The effect will definitely not be seen in the short term, but the significance of this move is testing. If it is successful, ruling Irantel will become much easier. Sig could easily figure this out because he knew the plot. Yes, sir. Lord Sig, I don't understand why you don't let Eli also state that he also believes in the Holy Dragon cult? That way he can quickly attract everyone's attention, and he can also make the most of this character's value. Lupus Regina Beta raised her own question. She also came to Irantel as the logistics support for this event, but because there was no role for her, she never showed up. Her race is werewolf, and she looks like a sexy dark-skinned beauty. Her exposed long white legs are the finishing touch. The specially made maid outfit makes it more convenient and lighter for her to fight. She hardly wears any armor and is a beauty in every aspect. She is usually very gentle, but as a representative of bad personalities, she also wants to get involved. She is happiest when teasing humans, and the expressions of humans when they are desperate are particularly exciting. The fact that Sigris Hrasvelgr is the holy dragon god will sooner or later come to light. As a member of the human race, Eli certainly cannot have such a stain. Moreover, the development of the sect cannot be rushed, because those who join in hastily are just useless fanatics. Sig explained with a smile. By the way, Clementine, I apologize for mocking you earlier, because this is the only way to establish a character that hates dragons. He actually apologized to a lowly servant for something like this, and the person being mocked was obviously Sig Sama / the master himself. Clementine's face flushed and her eyes filled with tears. Your power should be praised. Don't cry. Sig thought this was a bit exaggerated and handed over a handkerchief. Unexpectedly, Lupus Regina nodded in agreement and said as a matter of course, it is normal to be moved to tears when hearing Lord Sig say such things. If you do not express your feelings, you should be put to death. Sig then remembered that when it comes to cults, Nazarick is probably the largest cult organization. It has the characteristics of cruel means and fanatical worship. It is simply a cult among cults. President? I understand. While he was stunned, Ainz sent a message. Sig agreed and looked at Clementine. You should go and meet up with Fifei first. Ainz is going to distribute the adamantium level badges. As members of the same team, it would be best for you to be there. Lupus Regina, come with me. Zayadai is probably still waiting for him to finish the work. He also needs to confirm the progress and make new deployments. Yes, Lord Sig. Lupus Regina raised her hand playfully, swung her 2 braids, and followed him skipping and jumping. At this time, Demiurge stood respectfully in front of the portal, and when Sig emerged from it, he immediately bowed gracefully. Your subordinate Demiurge, respectfully welcomes Master Sig. Well, it's done, right? Sig nodded in agreement and asked casually. Yes, Lord Ainz successfully activated the super-level magic Skyfall, and no enemy came to stop him. Slater also retreated safely. Demiurge said with a smile. The fact is, Shadow Dragon Slater did not fight with Mammon. The sound of the battle was faked by him and Demiurge in order to confuse everyone. They also acted as guardians before the super-level magic was activated. In battle, the person who casts the super-level magic will be attacked first, so if there are enemies, the preparation time when casting the magic is the best time to act. Ainz also felt that it was unnecessary to use up a paid item for acting, so he agreed to the plan, but he still held one in his hand for safety reasons. However, even so, Demiurge was quite dissatisfied with the idea of using the Supreme Being as bait, and it was Albedo who came out to persuade him, but he still came. Thank you for your hard work, Demiurge. I would feel really bad if I didn't praise you in person. Sig said from the bottom of his heart. Looking at Sig who bowed his head to him, Demiurge said in fear, Ah, you are really too kind. It is my duty as a servant to share the worries of the Supreme Being. Okay, you don't have to be so respectful when facing me. Didn't I tell you that? Sig really likes Xiao Di, who has always been working diligently. The two are surprisingly similar when they are working, just don't think too much about it. Demiurge stood up, the corners of his mouth unconsciously raised a little. Thank you for your kindness, Sig-sama. But you can't rest now. I want you to meet a human who may be able to be used by Nazarick. Sig said solemnly. As you command, I am very happy to be praised by Lord Sig. I also want to meet her. A light flashed in Demiurge's eyes. If he guessed correctly, that person was the princess called Gold. He did have the idea of meeting that woman. Lord Sig was indeed a man of foresight. In order to prevent Demiurge from getting the wrong idea, Sig kindly reminded him, her intelligence is no less than yours and Albedo's. She should be able to solve the problem through conversation. But there's no need to overestimate her. Her value is to seize the kingdom. Understood. I will make her realize her place. A lower creature should have the cognition of a lower creature. Demiurge understood. There's no need to be like this. Never mind, Zayadai should know what's going on, but Sig, who is a little smart, obviously doesn't need to worry so much. As night fell, Lana sat in front of the mirror and kept adjusting her expression until she had an almost perfect and decent smile. At this time, the maid knocked gently on the door, and a sweet voice immediately came from the room. What's the matter? The maid gently opened the door and said, Your Highness, it's time to rest. I will serve you tonight. Lana chuckled, I didn't realize it's already this late. Go down first, I'll call you if I need anything. Yes, Princess, please rest early. The maid retreated respectfully. Lana's expression suddenly became gloomy and terrifying. She remembered that this maid had said bad things about Climb. Should she find a chance to kill her? While she was thinking, a shadow fell outside the window and a man in a suit suddenly appeared in front of her. Lana's body trembled uncontrollably. "You are you the Golden Princess?" Lana ultimately didn't remind anyone that she was determined to sacrifice millions of people just to be with Clem forever. Thus, the traitorous plan was born. Chapter 39. After arranging everything, Sig returned to the great tomb of Nazarick with peace of mind. There is no point in taking action immediately. Once public opinion ferments, it will naturally reach the ears of those bigwigs. What we have to do now is to wait. However, to be on the safe side, a double phantom was left behind to disguise himself as Eli and move around in Irantel to deal with officials and nobles who came to visit him. Walking along the deserted corridor, the 9th floor of Nazarick was exceptionally quiet. Because it is the residence of the Supreme Being, out of respect, no one dares to make loud noises here, and everyone will try to keep quiet. Sig changed back to his half-human form and stretched comfortably, his joints making crisp crackling sounds. Ainz is not here right now, and Demiurge and Sebastian have been sent out on missions, so Nazarick has suddenly become much quieter. In other words, he can also enjoy a pleasant personal time. He didn't even inform Albedo of his return this time, and asked Lupus Regina not to say anything. "Next, let's go eat. Going to a special restaurant won't cause a sensation and the environment will be very good." Sig has never seen the chef's true face, and he has never appeared in the anime. It was clearly he who suggested Tian Muichi to design the restaurant, but the other party mysteriously refused to let him see the set NPC, saying that there was a surprise. He was very curious at the time, but he needed the president's authority to check it, so the matter was left unresolved. Maybe she's a beauty, Sig thought, and pushed open the beautifully decorated door. Squeak! After seeing the scene inside, he was stunned by its luxury. This guy Tian Muichi is really willing to spend money. When the plan was set up, there was no plan to build a restaurant. They are players and don't need to eat, so it would be a complete waste. Considering the life after time travel, Sig allocated some of his own information and encouraged Tian Mu to express himself freely. He was also excited at the time. Judging from the current situation, Tian Mu must have spent a lot of money to buy materials, otherwise it would not have been built so magnificently. The area alone was outrageous. "Master Sig, why are you here?" Sig looked towards the source of the rough voice, and a pig-headed man suddenly appeared in front of him. "This is such a big surprise, Tian Muichiko, you actually designed the chef to be a pig-headed man. May I have your name?" "I am Ziho Woods Takaizi, currently serving as the head chef." Ziho Woods was half kneeling on the ground obediently, with a huge iron pot on his back. The words "fresh meat" were tattooed on his naked upper body, and a large gold chain hung around his neck. His white apron and hat were the only evidence that he was a chef. Sig thought about it and asked uncertainly, "Ziho Woods, is your race an orc?" "Yes, although I look like a close relative of a wild beast, I am definitely a subhuman." Ziho Woods answered very quickly. It seemed that only his eyes looked a little dull, but his actions were still very capable. Sig originally thought that he was the slow type. Looking at the other person's puzzled face, Sig said calmly, "Please recommend any dishes to me." "Of course, we come here to eat." Xihuahuza was keenly aware of the unusualness of this matter. Lord Sig suddenly came back and came to him first. There must be some deep meaning behind it. But with his intelligence, he obviously couldn't understand. Maybe it was to test his loyalty, or he had to inform Lady Albedo as requested. As the chief guardian, Albedo had given orders that whoever saw the Supreme Being return first must notify her so that preparations could be made to welcome him. All of Albedo's actions had been approved by Lord Ainz. She was the one who managed Nazarick when the Supreme Being was away, so naturally no one had any objections to this. Ziho Woods asked calmly, "Lord Sig, would you like Hyuxia or Western food?" "So there is Hyuxia food?" Sig said in surprise. "Yes, Master Tian Muichiko specially set up a section for Hyuxia food." Sig finally understood what a surprise was, and it felt really good. "Then let's cook it like Hyuxia food. Remember to stew the dragon meat for a longer time. There's still time, so don't be too anxious. I can just eat while I wait." "As expected, your cooking is the best, Xihua Woods. As a chef, there is no greater joy than having your food recognized, let alone receiving praise from the highest authority." Zihoud, who had been feeling sorry that Insama could not have his meal, regained his strength and said, "As you command. I will not let Sig-sama down." Come on. Sig encouraged with a smile. The meal lasted for 3 hours with almost no breaks. After one dish was finished, a new one was served soon. Sig felt a little full. He usually eats until he is 70% full, but 50% is enough outside. Saiho Wood still looked unsatisfied, and Sig wondered if he wouldn't be tired. After asking, he found out that he, a head chef, was actually level 78, which was higher than the level of a combat maid. With the Berserker class, except for the Floor Guardian, it can be ranked top in terms of combat power. Thank you for your hospitality, Saiho Woods. It's getting late, so don't stay up too late. I'm leaving now. It felt a bit impolite to just say go back to the room to rest, and it also seemed like I was just going to sleep after eating, so Sig didn't say it explicitly. Thank you for your recognition, Lord Sig. After walking out of the restaurant, Sig touched his stomach and felt a little distressed. He should have taken a walk, but it seemed like it was the habit of all animals to feel sleepy after eating. He didn't want to move at all. Let's go back to the room. He sighed helplessly. Sig used the ring to teleport directly to the door of the room. Before pushing it open, he seemed to have a strange premonition, as if he was being stared at by something. Strange, no enemy should be able to enter here, this must be an illusion. After the door opened, a white figure suddenly jumped into his arms, flapping its wings excitedly. Master Sig, welcome home. Sig felt that he should trust his instincts. He reached out and held the other's shoulders, slightly increasing the distance between them. Albedo, why are you in my room? Albedo suddenly became shy. I heard that Sig-sama has returned, so I want to dress up as a wife to welcome her husband home. Do you like it? Saiho Woods, you sold me out. Sig immediately thought of the person who leaked the information. What he was facing now was a life-threatening question. Albedo looked like a complete predator, and the burning light in her eyes seemed to be lust. Sig can't say that he doesn't like it, but if he says frankly that he likes it, he seems like he will be knocked down on the spot. Chapter 40. Under Albedo's fierce attack, Sig retreated unconsciously. When he realized he had nowhere to retreat, his back was already against the door, and he could even feel the other person's hot breath. Facing the predator's eyes, his throat rolled and he couldn't help swallowing. Albedo, thank you for your thoughtfulness. I am very happy. Really? So you like it very much? Albedo folded her hands in ecstasy, her oval pupils seemed to be twisted into a heart shape. Sig leaned his hands on the door and murmured, no. Is it because I'm not wearing a nude apron? If Lord Sig wants to see it now, I can change it here. It's totally fine. Albedo said as she was about to take off her clothes, with her hands placed on the hollow part of the pure white dress, which was the most imaginative part. Sig's pupils trembled, and they almost shrank into a line. Because of excessive patience, his fingers were bent at strange angles. 2 pairs of golden eyes flashed in the dim room, and the air became scorching as the breathing became increasingly heavier. Although Sig himself is an abstinent person, it is difficult for him to remain calm when facing such a beauty. For some reason, he feels that his body is about to move first. It can't be because he is a dragon man. As we all know, dragons and demons are very special races. They can hybridize with most races and there is basically no such thing as racial segregation. In other words, both are representatives of lust. From this perspective, the two of them are actually quite compatible. In the end, reason overcame instinct. Sig grabbed Albedo's hand, held her in his arms, and spoke close to her ear. No, Albedo, have you forgotten what I told you? Albedo regained some of her sanity and pursed her lips in silence. So you really forgot, so you didn't think about your real thoughts. Loving Sig-sama is my thought, and I won't say anything else. If this causes you trouble, then order me to commit suicide. Albedo responded gently, with a tear falling from the corner of her eye. I don't know what happened, but Sig made 2 girls cry in succession. He felt guilty inside, which had never happened before. He wiped Albedo's tears and stroked her cheek. Don't cry, Albedo, I already know what you mean. Sir Sig. Feeling the slight coolness on her skin, Albedo stood there in a daze. Lord Sig actually took off his gloves. Albedo didn't know when it started, but she noticed that Sig always wrapped himself tightly, with hardly an inch of skin exposed. His face couldn't be seen when he was wearing armor, and he never took off his gloves, which made her always want to strip him of his clothes. She touched the scaly hands and rubbed them obediently, Master Sig's hands are very cold. When you're in half-human form, your body temperature is low. Do you feel uncomfortable? No, it's very special. I like it very much. You can touch it for a while longer. That feels very perverted. Sig pulled Albedo to the window, sat on the edge, and invited her, would you like to enjoy the night view together? Yes, Lord Sig. Albedo gracefully sat sideways. Under the moonlight, her whole body seemed to be shining, like a goddess descended to the earth. Sig admitted that this was indeed his preference. In fact, with Albedo's beauty, no one would not fall for her. While he was admiring her, Albedo was also stealing a peek out of the corner of her eye. Although she could only see her profile, it was also extremely perfect, with a hint of tenderness in her coldness. Especially when she thought that this tenderness was given to herself, she couldn't help but pounce on him, even if she was treated roughly. It didn't matter, it would be more fun that way. Albedo pretended to be calm and tidied the hair around her ears. The moonlight is so beautiful tonight, Sig-sama. Resisting the greasy words like I'm not as beautiful as you, Sig nodded, you don't need to use honorifics in private. How can a servant call his master by his name? You can do this when it's just the two of us. This is a privilege I give you, and I love you both. Love. Love. Albedo's face flushed. Although she knew that it was not just her who was being talked about, she still couldn't help but feel happy. She hesitated for a long time, repeating the same name in her heart, and finally whispered with love, Love Sig. 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 Sig, you finally fell into my hands. I knew you couldn't escape from my grasp. Ring, ring, ring. In a blink of an eye, it was time to get up again. Sig woke up from the soft big bed. The warm quilt had a familiar magic. I didn't want to get up, especially after having the dream of being eaten clean by Albedo. The maid who had been serving him all night stood up, opened the curtains for him, and said respectfully, Good morning, Master Sig. Sig then sat up, constantly reminding himself of the fact that he had traveled through time. He was no longer a solitary office worker, and as the supreme ruler of Nazarick, he at least couldn't stay in bed. Thanks a lot. The short-haired maid smiled brightly, it is our mission to serve Master Sig. In fact, he didn't need to keep watch. He was not like Ainz who couldn't sleep and could only read to pass the time. But these maids are really stubborn. If they are not allowed to work, they will start to have unrealistic thoughts and feel that their life is hopeless. So Sig just lets them do as they please. After breakfast, a cute girl in a kimono-like maid outfit followed him. Today's personal maid is Entima Vasilisa Zeta. She belongs to the Pleiades star cluster and is the youngest of 7 sisters. She wears double buns and has a very sweet voice. Apart from her expressionless face, she seems to have no flaws. Sig knew that it was just a mask, so of course he couldn't show any expression. He was not the kind of person who would care about such trivial matters. Entima, have you had breakfast yet? No, Master Sig, but I went to the Terror Lords yesterday and had a lot of snacks, so I don't need to eat for the time being. Sig felt goosebumps all over his body. He really didn't like cockroaches. I remember that Lucifer insisted on giving the cockroach-shaped metal golem made of super rare metal to the Prince of Terror as a mount, saying that it was a cockroach riding a cockroach, and jokingly said it was like a dragon man riding a dragon. It's normal for him to make such excessive jokes. It's annoying, but there's nothing we can do about it because no one wants to pay attention to him. Sig had a very good temper and didn't argue with him. He just used his partnership as an excuse to morally blackmail him and forced him to complete the 72 Pillars of Demons before quitting the game, leaving him with no regrets. However, the Terror Prince would probably cry if he could call the most evil black coffin in the stronghold a snack shop. Chapter 41. I remember that Entima was also a cannibal, but she didn't have any strange sadistic desires, she just wanted to fill her stomach. Compared with women and children, she prefers strong muscular men, who are high in protein and will not easily make you fat after eating them. They are really good news for those who want to lose weight. Because it was dinner time, Sig didn't have the heart to let her go hungry. If you're really hungry, wait for Demiurge to come back and ask him for a human. We caught quite a few back then. Rather than suffering endless torture there, it would be a relief to be eaten by the insect girl. Entima shook her head, thank you for your concern, Sig-sama. I can just eat cookies, and I'm also trying to lose weight. It would be terrible if I couldn't wear the clothes given by the Supreme Sama. Lose weight? You're still growing, so eat some snacks to fill your stomach. Sig felt that the child was not too bad, but he must not be led astray. After getting her consent, Entima took out the green biscuit, held it in both hands and ate it slowly, looking very ladylike. After all, the mask is not a real mouth. If you want to eat, you need to put it at the chin position, and it will only make a faint chewing sound. Click, click. After taking a few bites and noticing Sig looking at her, Entima held up the cookie and asked, Sig-sama, do you want to eat some too? Sig was very pleased that he was a child who knew how to share, but he decided to give up. These green cookies were obviously specially made, and the ingredients might be bugs. He touched Entima's head. Different from the softness of her hair, it felt hard, like the shell of a beetle. Although I know it is an insect leg, I can accept it from a sensory perspective. I'm full, you eat. I'll bring you a nice meal next time I go out. Have some drinks. Thank you, Lord Sig. The two tentacles on Entima's head waved happily. Oh my, Lord Sig is really back. My trip here was not in vain. Hearing the special ending tone of Ainz, Sig knew without turning around that it was Shaltir who came. No one else would use such a sweet tone. He didn't expect that the news of his return would spread so quickly. Good morning, Shaltir. Sir Sig, too. Shaltir paused. I'm very troubled by something, and I was wondering if you'd be free. Tell me about it. Sig picked up the hot tea and squinted his eyes comfortably. It's like this, I want to know if this outfit suits your taste. Sig then realized that Shaltir was not wearing her usual gothic Lolita outfit. She had on a unique cheongsam. The bright red color, the shorter length and the deep slit created a seductive picture. Her long silver hair was tied into two buns. It is cute and sexy, which is indeed beautiful, but is the combination of cheongsam and bun really so classic? Why are these two always put together? Ahem, it's fine. Thank you for the compliment, Lord Sig. Shaltir showed her little fangs with a charming smile on her face. I heard from Lord Pararansino that Lord Sig likes this one very much, and it turns out to be true. Shaltir, what are you doing here? Albedo's gentle voice came, but the expression on her face could not even be called a smile, she looked like a devil. She stared at Shaltir, her eyes gleaming with fear. Lord Sig, Shaltir didn't do anything disrespectful, did she? If so, please have your subordinates punish her. I was not rude to Lord Sig, what do you mean? A blood-red aura emanated from Shaltir's body. You mean there has never been a time like this? Albedo also exuded a purple aura. Who do you think would like an old woman like you who has exceeded her expiration date? So what about you, the food exhibit in the cupboard? Big-mouthed gorilla. Lamprey. Sig's mood was not very good as he watched the two beauties slandering each other. Some people might like this feeling of superiority from being fought over, but he didn't want to see this kind of scene at all. Perhaps he, the culprit, should leave for a while. It was not a good idea to stay idle in Nazarick. He would be going to the Empire soon, but he had not yet decided who to take with him. The opinions of the two people in front of him should not be of reference value. Andoma, do you want to go somewhere else? If that's what Lord Sig wants. Andoma replied obediently. As the two of them were at loggerheads, Sig lifted Andoma with one hand and activated the ring of Ainz owl gown. Albedo, Shaltir, calm down for a moment. I'm going to inspect the 5th floor. Sig adult. Albedo reluctantly lowered her hand, turned around and said grimly, Shaltir, can I take it that you have fallen in love with someone else? How dare you betray Ainz-sama? This shouldn't be considered betrayal. A good man like Sig-sama should be shared. You want to have the best of both worlds. Albedo, calm down. I know I'm in the wrong, so I won't fight for the position of the principal wife. But whoever gets favored first will have to rely on their own abilities. After saying that, Shaltir turned and left. Now that the adult was gone, there was no need for her to stay any longer. Albedo snorted coldly, her face flushing unnaturally, I was here first, so of course the principal wife is mine. Lord Sig must think so too. The 5th floor of the great underground tomb of Nazarick, a level built based on the concept of a glacier, guarded by Cocytus. In a world full of ice and snow, white icebergs stand on the white land that stretches as far as the eye can see. Snowflakes fall from the thick clouds and accumulate thickly on the ground. The biting cold wind was blowing, but Sig had absolute resistance to cold, and he also had ice attribute, so he naturally didn't feel anything. I just don't know if it had anything to do with Bug Girl. Entama shrank back and skillfully put a talisman on herself to keep out the cold. Lord Sig, I often come to see Cocytus, so I am very familiar with this place. Let me lead the way. Well, thank you for your help. Both of them are insect type, so it's normal for them to be close to each other, but does Cocytus also eat cockroaches? Welcome, Lord Sig. Walking into the air-conditioned room, a tall insect man holding a halberd appeared, his ice blue skin glowing, and he spewed out a breath of cold air the moment he spoke. No need to be polite. I came here to chat with you. Let's sit down together. Cocytus glanced at the insect girl and replied in a muffled voice, as you wish. I will be going to the Empire to carry out a mission soon, and I want you to help me analyze who should I take with me. Although I can go alone, it is less likely to arouse suspicion if there are two of us. Sig said with a smile. I think Lupus Regina is good. She can quickly integrate into human society. Narberyl can be a backup option. And Entama jumped up and down and raised her hands as if to say, I can do it, too. Sig pressed her down on the sofa and said, you stay in Nazarick and don't go out casually. Be careful not to meet someone who can kill insects. Entama lowered her head dejectedly, and Cocytus took out a frozen snack, which was a cockroach that had been frozen hard. Cocytus, you. Chapter 42. Cocytus obviously didn't know what was going on. He ordered a bug man to bring a specially made iced drink. Glacier-flavored drink, please taste it, Lord Sig. Sig picked up the frosty glass and could feel the bone-chilling cold through his gloves. It was nothing compared to what was refrigerated in the refrigerator. Perhaps this was the answer to the ice cockroach. Bug Girl is treating this place as a natural cold storage. Fortunately, Cocytus has a good temper. Gurgle, gurgle. After drinking it all, Sig exhaled a mouthful of white cold air. It really tastes good. Such a delicious drink should be promoted in large quantities. Lord Sig is absolutely right. Out of the joy of finding a soulmate, Cocytus also performed a full-mouthed silence. Out of curiosity, Entama picked up her cup and took a sip very carefully. She immediately felt unwell, making unclear noises, covering her mouth and gesticulating. It seems that Entama is also very happy. Although I was a bit too excited, it shouldn't be unpalatable. It feels quite cute, Sig thought. Entama is petite, and she always ends her sentences with a sweet, little girl's mannerisms. It's impossible to treat her like a bug. Instead, she's like a well-behaved little girl, and you feel like you're looking at your own daughter. Cocytus hesitated and changed the subject. Lord Sig and Albedo get along pretty well, right? Ever since he heard about the young master from Demiurge, he had often fallen into fantasy, and now that he had the chance, he naturally wanted to ask about it. Sig didn't know why the Guardian was suddenly concerned about his emotional problems, and agreed vaguely, it's okay. Cocytus was visibly happy. Are you planning to get pregnant in the near future? Poof. This time Sig really spat out the drink he had drunk. After wiping his mouth awkwardly, he found that the stained part had frozen and could not be wiped off with the tablecloth. With this little episode, the awkward atmosphere became even more intense. Cocytus, why do you think so? She and I are not in the relationship you think. Cocytus scratched his head, lowered his head and said, I misunderstood. I'm very sorry. Could it be that Lord Sig doesn't like Albedo? Well, of course not, let's get back to business, Sig said helplessly. Yes, sir. Cocytus sighed, unable to hide his disappointment. Judging from the current progress, how long would he have to wait? He also didn't know how things were going with Lord Ainz. It would take both of them a while to get things done. As a samurai, serving the young master is the greatest happiness. He will definitely train him to be the best warrior. If he wants to become a magic caster, that's fine too. It would be a nice sight to see the young master riding on him and laughing. I really want to be called old man. By the way, Lord Sig, can you please persuade Lord Ainz? Clementine is relatively strong among humans, but bringing her along would be a hindrance, and her safety cannot be guaranteed. Although Cocytus did not like Clementine, he was telling the truth, as Demiurge had repeated it in his ear many times. The two of them were drinking buddies and often went to Peach's bar to get drunk together. They were quite familiar with each other and knew that Clementine was Sig's direct slave. Sig thought about it carefully. After getting his affirmation, Clementine would definitely put the development of believers as the top priority. She couldn't do two things at once. Now that she had made a name for herself, the identity of an adventurer was somewhat redundant. That's right. Why not let Nabe stay by the president's side? After all, she is very experienced and has relatively strong strength in the Pleiades. She is the most suitable candidate. It would also help to get the future Sorcerer King, a certain person who has strayed from the right path, to come to terms with his situation. As for whether Ainz liked Nabe or not, that was another matter. She was obviously a great beauty, but she was a little stubborn and liked to call humans bugs. If it weren't for the difficulty of playing the role of a black worker, which required superb acting skills, and more importantly, Nabe's own temperament was not quite suitable, he would have taken Nabe with him. But it's the same when bringing Wolf Girl with him, he doesn't hate any of these NPCs. Seeing Sig readily agree, Cocytus breathed a sigh of relief. Then I'll trouble you, Sig-sama. As for Ainz-sama, don't worry, just remember to tell Nabe and Lupus Regina to get ready. I'll be back first. Sig said cheerfully. Since it's for Ainz's own good, it's okay for him to make his own decision. That's what a good friend does. Inside the palace in the capital of the Baja's Empire, a man with outstanding looks was leaning on a leather sofa, his bright red background and golden hair complementing each other, showing a complete aura of a ruler. The seventh emperor of the empire and the only supreme monarch, the Blood Emperor, whose full name is Gilnifer Lune Farid Heir. At this moment, he narrowed his narrow eyes, his purple pupils full of anger, and the paper in his hand was crumpled into a ball. What exactly does the theocracy want us to find out? Is it so unbelievable that the warrior is a silver knight? Through spies, they easily found out information about the great magician Ainz Oolgown, and as for the warrior, they spent some time to get relatively accurate information. The Silver Knight, one of the 13 heroes. Although this answer was hard to believe, it was news from the Golden Princess and was highly credible. Gazef had also hinted that the man was not ordinary. To be honest, the Empire has tried its best. The knights said in unison that it was Ainz Oolgown who saved the Karn village alone. He really doubted whether the so-called silver-armored knight really existed. But the theocracy categorically stated that the man was definitely not a silver knight, and in all likelihood was not even a human. Not human. Can't the silver knight be not human? Who knows what is under the armor? The old man beside him saw his anxiety and comforted him softly, don't be impatient. The Empire still needs the support of the Church. Just leave this matter to the secretary. Flutter Paradine, the chief magician of the Empire. The old man has thick silver hair and a beard that is almost taller than his height. He looks very wise. The word wise here is a compliment. He has assisted 6 generations of emperors and is a person trusted by the Blood Emperor. He is also the only one who can influence his thoughts, second only to the Emperor and above everyone else. Gilkinifer looked at the strands of hair that slipped from his fingertips and reluctantly agreed, Old man, is it really impossible for our country to annex the kingdom with its own strength? Yes, but to completely acquire the kingdom's land, it may take at least a dozen years to slowly eat it up like it is now. What Flutter said was already the best case scenario, assuming the empire was at its most powerful. Tisk, what a hassle. The Blood Emperor, who was recognized as possessing the most outstanding talents in history and a natural ruler, was in a very distressed situation at this time, but he was just complaining. Of course, he had to endure it for the sake of the empire, because the church was the strongest. Chapter 43. The area of the Scylan theocracy is twice that of the kingdom. It is located in the central region of the continent and borders the kingdom to the north. It believes in the 6 great gods and spreads anthropocentrism. Under the theocratic system, the country is ruled jointly by the highest priest and the priests serving the 6 gods. The religious atmosphere is very strong in the country, and slavery is especially retained. Almost all citizens are religious and adhere to the principle of human supremacy. They are currently at war with the forest elves, and captured elves will be enslaved. Currently, there are 6 confirmed special forces, 6 colors of the Holy Scripture, which are the strongest among the surrounding human countries. 600 years ago, the arrival of the 6 great gods saved humanity from dire straits and slaughtered a large number of powerful subhuman races. The civilizations that were not exterminated also rapidly regressed. The theocracy also followed suit, exterminating any species that might pose a threat to humans. He calls himself the light of mankind. On the premise of ensuring the interests of his own country, he will consider issues from the perspective of all mankind. He once had great expectations for the kingdom. The geographical location of the kingdom of Liestai is very advantageous. It is not only easy to defend but also borders 3 countries. It will not be invaded by subhumans. It is mostly plains, the land is fertile, and the forest resources are also quite rich. The Church hopes to breed a steady stream of outstanding talents in this fertile and peaceful land, replenish fresh blood for mankind, and become a cradle of talents. However, excessive comfort has led to the breeding of corruption and darkness, which is extremely disappointing. That's why they set their sights on the thriving Bahaz Empire under the leadership of the Blood Emperor and decided to help them invade the kingdom. The plan to kill the warrior captain was a conspiracy between the 2 countries. First, the Imperial Knights massacred the villagers, then spies put pressure on them to lure out Gazef, and then the Sunlight Scripture killed him. The theocracy has good reasons to hide behind the scenes. The people firmly believe in the idea of human supremacy, and the war with the forest elves is getting more intense. If they take action to occupy the kingdom, they may very likely launch a war against the council state under the influence of public opinion, leading to their own destruction. The council state is a city-state composed of subhumans, with the Dragon King as a council member. Although it has never invaded other countries, those who are not of our race must be aliens. It will not be too late to make plans after we become strong enough. The invasion activities carried out by the theocracy will also be obstructed by the council, whose purpose is to maintain the balance of the world. In addition, the theocracy seems to have a secret weapon that can quickly end the war, but they are afraid that it will be discovered and destroyed by the Dragon King, so they have not dared to use it. Inside the office, Albedo looked at the report and snorted, "Humans are such a stupid race. I remember Lord Ainz said that in the original world, humans also launched a campaign to hunt down aliens, but of course it failed in the end." Demiurge frowned, his diamond-like eyes flashing coldly, "Isn't it better to exterminate them?" After thinking for a moment, Albedo rejected the proposal. There are too many of them. It's hard to kill them all. It's not difficult to rule this race. But sometimes there are smart individuals who appear to be human on the surface, but are no different from demons at heart, Demiurge said with a smile. "Oh, is this the human that Lord Sig wants you to meet? Is it a male or a female?" What can be heard is that Albedo's tone was noticeably heavier when she said the word female. Demiurge showed a helpless expression. "She is a woman, but her situation is not what you think." After listening to Demiurge's explanation, Albedo's expression became much better. Her original hostility disappeared, and she felt the urge to meet him. "I always feel like they are the same kind of people. They betrayed the entire country for their lover, and she also did it for Sig-sama." Thinking of this, her heart began to beat violently, as if it was about to burst out of her chest. "Albedo, what's wrong with you?" Seeing Albedo's crazy love for him, Demiurge quickly interrupted her. "Nothing. I'm going to take this report to Lord Sig for review. You also have something to report, so let's do it together," Albedo said gently. In Ainz's absence, Sig has been temporarily appointed as the person in charge. Although most matters are handled by Albedo, he still needs to review them. Otherwise, it would be disrespectful to the Supreme Being, which is no different from betrayal. "No, I'll go later. Lord Sig is about to leave, so you should say goodbye properly," Demiurge said tactfully. Albedo smiled and didn't force anything. "Thank you for your understanding. I'll be leaving now." Demiurge sighed. It seemed that she was very concerned about Shaltier's challenge, but there was nothing he could do about it. It was indeed wrong for Shaltier to transfer her feelings, but it was her own choice and would not affect the 2 adults, so he could not blame her for it. Can't she like Sig-sama? Does she have to like Ainz-sama? This is an unsolvable problem. But if both of them become Sig-sama's women, whose child will be stronger? This is a topic worth studying. To put it in a broader sense, this directly concerns the future of Nazarick. Ainz-sama must use special magic to obtain a physical body. The poker process is very cumbersome, and obtaining offspring is also difficult. Lord Sig is different, as he can produce offspring with females of any race if he wants, and the chances of the mother becoming pregnant are extremely high. Demiurge's thoughts gradually drifted far away. He didn't know when they had gone so awry. Finally, he sighed, it would be great if Sig-sama could become a demon of desire. The word devil coming from the mouth of a devil is obviously not meant in a derogatory sense. In the cloakroom, Sig was selecting suitable equipment, with Albedo beside him. Sig originally wanted to refuse, thinking that Albedo was already very tired from dealing with affairs every day and there was no need for her to take care of such trivial matters, but her attitude was too firm. Albedo had already asked Yuri to step away and made the selection herself. Sig was surprised to find that Albedo's housekeeping skills were also maxed out, much better than Yuri's. "Thank you for your hard work, Albedo." It seemed that such a dry speech could not express gratitude, so he asked, "What reward do you want?" "How dare a subordinate ask for a reward from Lord Sig? This is all part of my job. I'm serious. Everyone has accepted it. Are you sure you don't want to?" It would be a lie to say she wasn't jealous. Albedo naturally only wanted one thing, but Lana indirectly reminded her. "Before capturing the prey, never reveal your true face, but show your perfect side," she said shyly. "I want a kiss, no lips." "Okay." Sig gave a very gentle smile, raised his hand to lift her hair in front of her forehead, and gave it a cool kiss. "This is a secret gift for you." Chapter 44. In the dead of night, Demiurge walked slowly on the 9th floor of Nazarick, his leather shoes making a clattering sound against the ground. At the end of the corridor, he stopped, straightened his appearance, and elegantly knocked on the door engraved with intricate patterns. "Come in." Demiurge pushed the door open and bowed respectfully to the person in front of him. "Good evening, Master Sig." Sig habitually sat by the window, with his upper body leaning against the wall, his feet placed casually, and his whole body maintaining a very relaxed posture. Hearing Demiurge's voice, he smiled brilliantly. "Night seems to be a good time to plot." Demiurge also smiled. "Master Sig is right." At the desk, Sig was listening to Demiurge's report. When he heard the surrender of Golden Princess Lana, he showed an unexpected expression. Demiurge immediately caught on to this, and his respect for Sig increased even more, praising him sincerely. "Everything is under control, Sig-sama." Sig has now become able to accept this level of compliments shamelessly without blushing or getting nervous, and can even agree to it. "She has leaked the news that you are the Silver Knight to the Empire. The Slian theocracy will soon get the news." The person she was referring to was naturally Lana. By virtue of her identity as the Golden Princess, she was a very convenient tool who could do many convenient things. It does confuse people, but you must have other reasons for doing this. Sig didn't believe that with Xiaodai's intelligence, he would go through so much trouble for just this purpose, so he decided not to say anything definite just in case. As expected, nothing can be hidden from Lord Sig. As expected, Demiurge began his explanation. "I want Sig-sama to use the name of the Silver Knight to become the protector of the kingdom, and then deliberately defeat Ainz-sama when he invades the kingdom, so as to completely destroy the psychological defenses of the people of the kingdom. But the true status of the Silver Knight cannot be determined at the moment. It is highly likely that he is not the only one left among the 13 heroes." Sig knew that the armor controlled by the Platinum Dragon King was the Silver Knight. Other people who knew his identity included an older woman and the vampire destroyer Ibaruat. "Don't worry about that. The Golden Princess has already given us a list. I have sent out shadow demons to search for intelligence and have confirmed that one of them is a member of Kangqiangwei." Demiurge changed the subject, but the other person's location has not yet been determined. "I'm really sorry." Demiurge's meticulous arrangements made Sig feel ashamed. To be honest, when did he ever say he wanted to pretend to be a Silver Knight? Could it be the time in Khan village? It's not difficult to kill him directly, but it would become too coincidental and might be noticed by someone with ulterior motives. But there are also benefits. If the Platinum Dragon King knew that Ziri's companion was killed and someone pretending to be him appeared, he would definitely take action. Then Sig would have a new mount. The Ice Dragon's panel attributes may be higher than those of the Platinum Dragon King, and its level is close to the maximum level, but the origin magic is enough to make up for this gap. Sig is very interested in the Platinum Dragon King and wants to take him as his follower, but he is also a little afraid of him. He chose Dragon Knight as his main profession, largely in order to restrain the strongest person in this world. He also wanted to participate in the World Championship auditions, but he was in the critical period of changing his job to Dragon Knight, so he missed the world-class career. The reason he made up was that he didn't want to disturb Takamai, and the other party was moved by it for a long time. Although killing him is possible, I have thought of another way. Of course, you must have thought of it a long time ago, so you set out for the Empire. Demiurge wagged his tail, his tone very firm. I didn't expect you to figure it out. Let me hear your thoughts. Sig said calmly without any panic. Yes. Demiurge bowed excitedly, seeming very happy that he guessed Sig's thoughts. Through Eli's activities, spread the news of the Silver Knight's appearance in the Empire, and at the same time persuade the Empire's top brass to assist in this matter. The kingdom will also take corresponding measures to spread the news more widely. In order to gain powerful combat power, the kingdom will take the initiative to confirm this rumor. At that time, you will be the true heroic Silver Knight. When the Empire senses a crisis, it will seek help from the theocracy. If the theocracy sends out elite troops, we can capture and kill them. This will not only dampen the theocracy's morale, but also take the opportunity to intimidate the Empire. After a moment of silence, Sig nodded. The Emperor is a wise man, he will surely know how to handle the current situation. It turns out that Demiurge had already taken the Empire and the theocracy into consideration. What a plan that kills 3 birds with 1 stone, stealing the title of hero in broad daylight. I'm afraid that when the real owner comes in the future, he will be regarded as a fake. This is just my humble opinion. I'm afraid Sig Sama's plan is more thorough. No, to be honest, there are some points that I haven't thought of yet. Thank you very much for your recognition. Demiurge grinned. The Faith Project has begun to show results. The kingdom is a very suitable place for experimentation. I would like to try to use the sect to stabilize the masses. Sig thought of the investigation report and suddenly laughed. It's a waste to let those nobles rule the fertile land of the kingdom. They occupy a good position but don't know how to cherish it. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too weak. Just go ahead and do it, Demiurge. It is the kingdom's honor to be the starting point for the Supreme One to conquer the world. I will do my best to complete the mission. Facing Demiurge's passionate expression of loyalty, Sig remained calm. He said in a deep voice, "Be careful, Demiurge." "Yes, sir. But there's no need to be too anxious. You should focus on the present. You should already know who the high-ranking officials that the Empire can use are." Demiurge narrowed his eyes slightly and slowly said a name, Flutter Paradine. A few days later, when Momanga saw Nabe dressed as an adventurer, he was extremely depressed. He was so depressed by her service in Nazarick that he pulled Sig into a corner. "Sig-san, I'd better team up with Clementine. Even if she's not free, she can still be with the Black Sword. I think this is great." "No, this is for your own good. Beautiful women will add influence to the team. But Clementine is also a beauty. Although Nabe is more beautiful than her, she is not as friendly as her." Sig crossed his arms and said impatiently, "Why are you still complaining? If you continue like this, I will take both of you away and hug you left and right." "Sure. No? Are you serious?" Chapter 45. Adventurers Guild. Guild leader Ainz looked at Eli as he left, and he was obviously reluctant to let him go. "Mr. Eli, why don't you stay in Irantel for a while? Although this place is not very wealthy, it is also the largest walled city nearby." A magic caster who could use 5th level magic was respected everywhere, and he even wanted to make an exception and register him as an adventurer. Sig refused coldly, "No need, my companions have found out information about the dragon in the Empire, so there is no need to stay." Such indifference and ruthlessness are in line with the character of a master. Moreover, the other person is indeed capable, so Ainz understands it. "I heard that the Empire's Flutter had indeed reached the peak of humanity's 6th order magic caster, but casting the spell put a great deal of pressure on the body, so it was normal for him to be bedridden for several days." On the other hand, Eli, who said he barely reached the 5th level, showed no signs of weakness right after using magic, and was able to receive visitors normally the next day. He had reason to suspect that the other party's level was even higher. Even if he couldn't reach the 6th level, he was very close to it. He was simply the top among the 5th level. It is really amazing that he can reach this level at the age of 40 or 50. Fifei's strength is also unbelievable. It also makes people curious about how strong the team with both Fifei and Eli is. "Maybe Mr. Eli could come with me for a walk before you leave. There are some interesting shops you must have never been to." Sig was a little confused. What small shop? He was quite familiar with Yellentire. He had visited all the food stores when he came here last time. Could there be something he missed? Ainz showed a very intimate attitude. "Haha, it's a woman, a high-end brothel that I carefully selected." Sig understood his desire to leave behind strong descendants, but he was not an animal that thought with his lower body, so he really could not enjoy it. It would be better to leave such treatment to Ainz. I have something important to attend to, so I won't bother you anymore. Thank you very much for the Union's care over the past few days. Sig pondered for a while before slowly saying, there is one more thing. I once encountered a warrior wearing silver armor nearby. He was very powerful, probably as strong as Fei. It was a bit disturbing. Ainz also frowned. He didn't think the other party would lie to him about such a thing, but he didn't believe it completely. He still had to send adventurers to investigate to be sure. If true, this would be very important intelligence. Did the other party tell his name? Maybe we can find some clues from it. Sig said, he was fighting with someone at the time. I didn't get close to observe, but only used the magic of clairvoyance from a distance. I heard him call himself Sigli Hrasvorg, but the people around him called him the Silver Knight. Ainz seemed to feel the sharp gaze from behind the mask, and couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. If that's true, it's a big deal. Thank you for letting me know. It's a piece of cake. When they were about to leave, a woman stood on the left and right of Eli, and Ainz finally saw the companions he mentioned. One of them had black hair and black eyes, with a cold gleam in her obsidian eyes. Her inky black hair was tied into a ponytail, and her skin was as white and delicate as pearls, quite exotic. She was dressed like an ordinary adventurer, but it was not ordinary on her. She only carried a sword as a weapon. The other one had long flaming red hair and a rare dark brown skin. She had a friendly smile on her face and a holy staff shaped like a giant axe on her back. She was dressed more boldly, in a light outfit with a golden ornament on her waist. They are Nabe and Rei. Sig turned around and introduced them. This is the head of the Ainz Guild. Ainz was still in a daze. He finally realized that his proposal would be rejected. Apart from the beauty of the Golden Princess, there was no one else in the kingdom who could compare to the two of them. Even the saint who followed Fei could not compare. It was also a greeting. Nabe just nodded indifferently. Nabe, a third-tier magic caster of the magic power system. Lupus Regina smiled and held his hand. I'm Reiki, Nabe's younger sister. I'm a third-tier faith magic caster and a part-time priest. Healing magic is my specialty. One is as cold as an iceberg, the other is as passionate as fire. They have such different temperaments, but they are actually sisters. Their magical attainments are so high and they seem quite reliable. How enviable! Ainz sighed. However, Ainz, who had no emotional changes, or to be more frank, no sexual desire, was really not interested in these things. After all, that thing was gone. He had thought about what it would be like if he had a body like Sig, and made many assumptions, but it seemed that without exception he would end up immersed in carnal desires. As he is a virgin, he might do something unimaginable and end up being deserted by everyone. Of course, this kind of result does not exist. The loyalty of the NPCs in Nazarick is full and they will never betray me no matter what. Why do I suddenly feel that I am even more evil? But, Sig-san is really good to me. I can't be lazy anymore. Ainz murmured, feeling touched. The capital of the empire, Oental, is a huge city where the Blood Emperor's palace is located. It does not seem to be as lively as the capital of the kingdom, but the surrounding area is thriving and travelers passing by seem to be infected by the atmosphere here. Sig, who was dressed strangely and accompanied by two beautiful women, attracted the attention of passers-by. Of course, more attention was focused on Nabe and Rei. Riki is the pseudonym given by Lupus Regina. After investigation, it was found that the consensus among workers is that they should not ask about the other party's past, nor should they reveal their excessive desires, so using real names is likely to arouse suspicion. Nabe was somewhat disgusted by those looks, especially after hearing someone say bad things about Sig. The anger in her eyes could hardly be suppressed. You damned lowly creature, cockroach, you actually belittled Lord Sig. Calm down, Nabe. There's no need to bother with those guys. And you have to call me Mr. Eli outside. As you wish, Master Eli. Nabe replied reluctantly. Sig is also helpless about this. Nabe is known as an inflexible combat maid. This is completely written into the setting and there is no way to change it. You can call me Mr. Eli from now on, but please don't call me by my real name. Nabe blushed slightly after saying the wrong thing. It was a bit embarrassing to be pointed out like this. I hope Lord Sig is not angry. Rei asked with a smile, Mr. Eli, what should we do next? What is a good game? This is business, don't think about having fun, go to the hotel you have inquired about in advance. Although workers have more freedom than adventurers, they also have no one to help receive clients and distribute tasks because they are doing dirty work. Clients have high requirements for meeting places, which cannot be too grand but also cannot guarantee safety. Therefore, it is very important to find a suitable hotel as a base. Although Sig didn't want to be a real worker, it was obviously not okay to just fool people and get things done. Rei stuck out her tongue, I know I was wrong. Chapter 46. After searching along a road lined with shops, the sign for the Singing Apple kiosk came into view. I heard that this store is a hotel and a pub. Several teams of workers use it as their base, and it has a very good reputation. But I didn't expect it to be so old. It looks even worse than the inn in Irentel. My expectations were a bit too high. Maybe the interior is not bad, Sig consoled himself. Nabe had already frowned, her beautiful eyes filled with anger. She tried to lower her voice and make her tone sound as calm as possible. How can we let Mr. Eli live in a place like this? Okay, we'll have to see it to know the details. Sig smiled and went in first. Since Mr. Eli has said so, you should not have any objections, sister. Lupus Regina quickly got into the role and began to speak as Reiki, always smiling and giving people a very friendly feeling. The next second, her tone of voice suddenly changed, her eyes narrowed slightly, and she suddenly changed from a cheerful and outgoing beautiful girl to a charming and seductive big sister. If your acting skills are too bad, you won't be able to play with more humans. Nabe finally smiled a little, Lu. Reiki, I understand. Don't even call my name wrong, Nabe sister. In the blink of an eye, Rei returned to normal, looking very distressed. She took advantage of Nabe's inattention and suddenly hugged her, her fingers moving frantically around her waist. The punishment is to tickle you, hee hee. Although Nabe was a double phantom, her mimicked body had normal perception. She covered her mouth and tried hard to hold back her laughter, making strange whimpering sounds. Seeing that she had succeeded in teasing him, Lupus Regina became even more aggressive. Noticing the increasing number of eyes around him, Sig could only interrupt and gently patted her hat, stop making trouble, let's talk inside. Lupus Regina hugged her head like a cat whose tail was stepped on, her expression becoming a little unnatural, but she didn't seem to hate it. Sig then remembered that Lupus Regina's race was werewolf. Could there be ears under the hat? The touch just now was too brief and I didn't feel it. In order to answer this question, he wanted to touch her again, but Lupus Regina seemed to be on guard and kept hiding behind Nabe. It seems that his ears are going to become Schrödinger's. He should ask the Beast King Mekong whether he has designed ears. Seeing that the NPCs designed by everyone are so unique, Sig is a little envious. It's like the loneliness that everyone has children but he doesn't. But it's not a waste to spend the information to improve daily life. He is a pragmatist. Instead of bothering others and ordering NPCs around, it is better to make plans early and solve the problem yourself. This is probably the mentality. At the beginning, he thought that Nazarick's combat power was sufficient, and he had not yet decided on what to set it up, so he kept hesitating. He did not expect that in the end, they would use up all the information. After pushing the door open and entering, Sig took a closer look and found that the interior decoration was actually quite good. Although there was a large flow of customers, the environment was very clean. He handed Rei a bag of money, which was mostly made up of gold coins. Since Clementine didn't do any real work, most of it was Ainz's hard-earned money. The task of booking a room is left to you. Okay, Mr. Eli. Lupus Regina understood what he meant. This was a test to see if she could integrate into human society. It was no big deal. Mr. Eli, can I go with you? Nabe suddenly asked. Why? I just want to learn. Sig thought about it and finally agreed. He couldn't stop his subordinates from making progress, and he also wanted to see if the NPC could grow based on the original settings. Finding an empty seat near the window, he sat down and waited for the two to return. Not long after, two people, a man and a woman, sat down at the table next to him. The man was very strong, with muscles in his arms and body. His expression was very unfriendly, giving people a very bad feeling. Sig quickly looked away from the other person's face. Sitting opposite was a blonde girl, aged over 15 but definitely no older than 20, with short hair cut to her ears, a long iron rod beside her, and a loose cloak on her back. Considering Mare's attire, Sig quickly determined that he was a magic caster. Ms. Felt, the repayment deadline has arrived again. I'm glad you still remember it. It's because of people like you who keep their promises that I was able to complete the work. The man did not sound kind as he said. His tone was very arrogant. The girl took out a bag of money and said coldly, 40 gold coins should be enough. The man shook the purse in his hand and said jokingly, but Master Felt borrowed another 100 gold coins. Because of your pity, I will add this money to the general ledger. If the account cannot be cleared next month, you will have to pay back 50 gold coins. You. The girl wanted to accuse him, but when she thought about leaving that house, she calmed down. Get the money and leave. I don't know how you found this place. If you come to disturb me next time, I will never let you go. I asked Mr. Field a little, and he told me right away that it was a very unfortunate family to be in trouble with, Miss Lciff Lilfield. Perhaps because he was in a good mood after receiving the money, the man's tone was not as aggressive as before. However, it was still quite sarcastic. After he finished speaking, he left. Sig saw all of this, no wonder he felt the girl in front of him was familiar. A team of workers called the Four Strategists participated in the invasion of Nazarick. They were personally received by Ainz in the arena. The only one among them who died painlessly was the magic caster named Archie. To be honest, Sig is quite disgusted with lending money at high interest rates. He wants to be a messenger of justice and take their money for himself. No, he wants to carry out a just trial. And it's just a side effect, definitely not the main purpose. Do you need help? A ripple appeared on Archie's calm face. She looked at the person who was chatting with her in surprise. Excuse me, are you talking to me? There may be something wrong with what I said. Do you want to be my first client? Chapter 47. The 15-year-old Blood Emperor immediately demonstrated his iron-blooded wisdom as soon as he ascended the throne. First, his brothers died unexpectedly, and then the queen also died of unknown causes. Then, he used the Knights Templar to kill all the nobles who had the ability to resist. After the establishment of a centralized system, a series of policies were promulgated. Many nobles who swore allegiance were stripped of their titles because they were considered useless, but as long as they had talent, commoners could be promoted. The Felt family is a family that fell because of the Blood Emperor, but there are many such families. The key problem is that the Field couple, who have no source of money, still want to maintain their original decent life, so they start to borrow money everywhere, including those loan shark organizations. Archie had no choice but to drop out of the Imperial Academy of Magic. Instead of becoming an adventurer, she became a worker who was more dangerous and earned money faster. But this kind of debt is a bottomless pit. For nearly 3 years, she had to pay back the money every month and gradually became overwhelmed. If it weren't for her 2 younger sisters, she would have left home long ago. Now that the debt collectors have found her base as a worker, her companions may be implicated. Perhaps it is time to make up her mind. In order to keep their conversation private, the two sat at the same table. Arca, who spoke first, I haven't seen you here before. You must be a new worker here. Sig nodded. He didn't intend to hide this matter. I am Eli, a traveler from Irantal. Then why do you want to be a worker? If you are not so short of money, it would be more convenient to become an adventurer. Archie asked doubtfully. I can't show my true face for some reason, and adventurers have a lot of rules and regulations, which makes it inconvenient to act. I'm more suitable as a worker. Sig said helplessly, now let's talk business, asking too many questions doesn't seem like a working style. To be honest, I am very distressed by your eavesdropping behavior. Family disgrace should not be made public, so I have no intention of hiring anyone to help. Arca, who had a blank expression on her face, revealing a cold feeling like a puppet. Ai Shui was telling the truth. The matter had not reached that point. After paying back part of the money, she just needed to take her sister and leave. Parents like that should have given up long ago. She didn't have the money to pay him. The rookie in front of her didn't even know what a worker was, and he wanted to play the hero who saved the beauty. Did he think he was a messenger of justice? It was ridiculous. Even if you died alone while on a mission, your parents wouldn't mind selling your sister. What are you talking about? No, how do you know I have a sister? Arca, whose expression turned into horror, and her voice became much louder because she was too excited. There happened to be few people around, and no one noticed the abnormality here. Sig suddenly changed the subject and said calmly, I am a magic chanter, and I can use magic up to the 5th level. Although there are conditions for activation, they are not harsh. Archie activated her own power in disbelief, her eyes glowing blue. Her innate power was the mystic eyes, and like Flutter, she could tell the highest level of magic that a magic caster could use. 6th. Archie suddenly felt that she was unable to speak, and she covered her mouth with her hands. Sig uttered a sigh and crossed his fingers on the table. So this is your ability. I'm sorry to have lied to you, but I didn't mean to do that. No. It's okay, Lord Eli, why would a big shot like you want to help me? Ai Shue said stutteringly. This is not free help, but compensation is required. But I have nothing and I don't have anything of equivalent value to pay. If Sir Eli agrees, can I pay in installments? Arca, who knew that she had no right to make any demands in her position. She was insignificant in front of a 6th level magic caster. Even though she had reached the 3rd level a long time ago, she knew that there was no possibility for her to go any further. Let me answer the previous question first. My ability allows me to see the trajectory of a person's destiny, so I know that you have a sister. Knowing the future. Archie exclaimed in surprise. This kind of supernatural power can be ranked among the top in the world. What a powerful person is in front of her. Sig shook his head. No, I can only see the possible results, but not the specific contents, just like I don't know your abilities. After hearing this explanation, Arca felt a little less stressed, but she still knew clearly that the person in front of her was not someone she could afford to offend. Then what is the purpose of Sir Eli helping me? Of course it is to make money, build a good reputation, and establish a personal image. Otherwise, it is for charity. Sig said in a deep voice, with a hint of pity in his tone, although I am not a messenger of justice, I still cannot bear to see tragedy happen before my eyes. You can think of it as me being nosy. How could that be? I would never think so. Archie bit her lip, as if she had made a major decision. If my end is destined to be a tragic death with nothing, then I hope to at least save my sister's life. For this, I am willing to give my all. Please accept my commission. Don't you doubt what I say. Sig himself was a little bit unconvinced that things went so smoothly. In fact, he was a little unconfident in his acting skills. After all, he was deceiving a stranger he had just met, and there was no help from others. He thought from the beginning that payment in installments would be enough. Archie's smile was somewhat bitter, but more of it was respect. Sir Eli is a 6th rank magic caster. If it weren't for your kindness, how could I have gotten the chance to escape from the quagmire? It would be tactless to refuse. He felt a little ashamed to say this. In fact, he didn't have much of this feeling. Sig was more relieved that his goal had been achieved. Is this lady the client? Lupus Regina approached silently, and seemed to have used invisible magic, which scared Archie so much that her face turned pale. Excuse me, who are you? I'm Mr. Eli's companion, Reiki, and this is my sister, Nabe. I just booked a room and found out it's open. I'm so happy. I'm Archie E. Fetterlilfelt. Thank you for your guidance. Archie bent down politely. Before admiring the two's beauty, she must not neglect Lord Eli's companions. The first impression is very important. She is grateful for the etiquette she learned as a noble. Lupus Regina smiled happily. It turns out to be Miss Archie. Nice to meet you. Chapter 48. Compared to the corrupt kingdom, the security in the Empire is much better. There are knights guarding the streets at night and day, and almost every road is paved with stone slabs and bricks. This is definitely not the case in other countries except the theocracy. In the previous death storm, it was not only the nobles who were wiped out. Coincidentally, many local organizations engaged in illegal and criminal activities were also disbanded at this time, contributing to filling the national treasury. The Blood Emperor is also very concerned about public security issues, but after a few years of vigorous development of the Empire, many organizations like Eight Fingers have quietly emerged, but they currently only dare to get involved in money-related businesses and dare not touch drugs. This situation was actually intentional by the Blood Emperor. No matter how strict the management is, there is no way to prevent transactions in the dark. It is better to wait until it develops a little and wipe it out in one go. At the same time, it can also establish a wise image in front of the people, which is also a good method. In a house far away from the central street of the imperial capital, a group of noisy people gathered, opening bottles of wine and rushing to pour them into their mouths, including the burly man who was collecting debts from Ainz. At this time, he smiled ingratiatingly at the one-eyed man in front of him, without the arrogance of beating anyone he saw before. He handed over the money bag with both hands. Boss, the mission is accomplished. This is given to me by the young lady of the Felt family. The one-eyed man took it with a smile, hugged the woman tightly, and took out a few gold coins from it. Well done, these are your reward. The man immediately bowed and thanked him. Thank you, sir. Please enjoy your time. I will leave now. Although he only got a few, 3 gold coins could support a civilian family of 3 for a month. It was good enough to get these, enough for him to find his old lover and have a good time. After the one-eyed man got the gold coins, he immediately put them into his waist bag. The woman in his arms drooped her eyelids, and her originally bright smile seemed a little forced. What's wrong? Realizing that her little thoughts had been discovered, the woman scolded, You are so mean. He smiled and explained, It's not that I'm stingy, I just have a big business deal coming up and I can't just spend the money I collect casually. Then why are you so ready to reward me? The one-eyed man smiled. He had already contacted 8 Fingers people and would soon be able to get the latest drugs. He also had the protection of the nobles behind him and would definitely be able to seize the market of the empire. But such a thing could not be said to a prostitute, so he just perfunctorily said, This is different. After the matter is done, I will take you to the arena to play. Aren't you a fan of King Wu? The woman knew that it was enough to make a fuss until now. The man had a bad temper, and being able to explain to her was the maximum limit. She threw herself into his arms again coquettishly, Then please don't break your promise, sir. The one-eyed man turned over and pressed her under him, reaching out to untie his belt. The crisp sound of metal collision was particularly obvious in the silent night. When he was about to take off his underwear, he found that it was chilly around him. It's strange, when did it become so quiet around here? Why did you stop at this time? You guys are really spoiling the fun. What's so good about the mating of lower creatures, slugs? Hurry up and complete the task. Don't keep Sig-sama waiting. Just think of it as research. It's quite interesting, but the mission does have to take priority. The one-eyed man stared at the 2 people who appeared here at some point, his eyes wide open, and he felt a surge of heat rushing to his lower abdomen. He had never seen such beautiful people before, their beauty attracted all his attention, so much so that he didn't notice that all his men were dead. Ah, someone's dead. The woman screamed first. The one-eyed man really wanted this noisy woman to shut up, as it was really affecting his appreciation of the beauty. What if the 2 of them were tired of the noise and didn't want to talk anymore? Otherwise, he would just kill them now. Nabe frowned slightly, looking a little impatient, too noisy. The voice was so perfect. I was just admiring her appearance. Fortunately, I didn't miss it. The one-eyed man swallowed his saliva and asked, What brings you here, my dear friends? Lupus Regina said with some disdain, I didn't expect you to be so polite, it's really rare, but you still have to manage your subordinates well, they are too rude, their death is totally worth it. What, is it? The one-eyed man was nodding hurriedly, but suddenly he reacted, turned his neck stiffly, and caught a glimpse of his tragically dead subordinates out of the corner of his eye. The woman was now pale and fell to the ground in dishevel, begging for mercy. I'm just here to work. I have no idea what happened. Please let me go. The one-eyed man seemed to still have a glimmer of fantasy, and quietly reached out to touch the weapon beside him. Although he is doing these things now, he was once a nobleman. Although he is the 3rd son, he has been taught by knights. Otherwise, how could he lead these gangsters? Can you give me the man? I have to ask where the money is. Lupus Regina appeared beside the man almost instantly, and smashed down with the holy staff in her hand, causing blood and flesh to splatter, and white brain matter to splash out. Even so, the man still had a breath left, so she cast healing magic and completely healed him. Okay, the game begins. I will torture you until you tell me the location of the vault. Exist. Lupus Regina grabbed his neck and gave him a seductive look. Don't talk so fast, it's no fun at all. Yes. Nabe nodded and slowly walked towards the woman. She was still begging for mercy. After seeing the miserable state of the one-eyed man, she begged even harder. Please let me go. I will pretend that I didn't see anything. I know a lot of important people. Nabe raised her sword without hesitation. There was no mercy in her eyes at all, as if she was looking at some kind of dying animal. What a tenacious inferior creature, cockroach, ... Wait a moment. Nabe immediately put down the sword in her hand. Lord Sig, do you want to spare this woman's life? But The man who came was Sig. He appeared in a white robe. The woman seemed to have seen a savior. She rolled and crawled to his feet. I am really innocent. I have nothing to do with anything. Please spare my life. I never intended to kill you. Sig's gentle voice made the woman dazed for a moment. She even wanted to surrender to him for a moment. She had never met such a contradictory person. He felt both holy and evil. Thank you, sir. What is your name? Bayan, this is just my name, I'm not lying. As if afraid that Sig wouldn't believe her, the woman hurriedly explained. I believe you, but are you sure you want to live? Yes. Okay then. Sig turned around and snapped his fingers. I'll leave Mare to you. Don't kill him. He may still be useful. His original intention of saving the woman was to keep her alive and publicize the matter, but to be on the safe side he still had to teach her what to say and what not to say. Got it, Master Sig. The dark elf pulled the hem of her skirt shyly and talked about the wooden wand. Don't struggle, Auntie. Chapter 49. In a certain area of the empire where nobles gathered, there were many ancient buildings, but many of them were empty, obviously deserted. Only one of them still had lights on. Arkaho clenched the staff in her hand and said, Mr. Eli, just send it here. Don't you want me to go in with you? If you want to take your sister away, they might try to stop you. It would be bad if there was a dispute. After forcing out the location of the vault, Sig left the two of them to clean up the mess and told the anxiously waiting Ainz the news first. When he heard that she was going home to pick up her sister immediately, he followed her. The matter was resolved so quickly that Archie was actually surprised, but she was more relieved because she was finally going to be free. I guess my dad would be furious after something like this. The Felt family has lost all face, and no one would dare to lend him money in the future. But it was none of her business. It was time for the parents to pay back their debts. You've helped me enough. Let me solve this family shame myself. Seeing this, Sig did not force it and stood outside the door waiting alone. Soon, a fierce quarrel was heard from inside the door, followed by the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. Arkaho shouted loudly, I will leave here from now on. I have asked the butler to distribute the severance pay to the servants. You will take care of yourselves from now on. The man's exasperated voice came, Ainz, who do you think is responsible for your current life? Ainz, I bought you a necklace. Let's continue to live a good life as a family. Why do you have to leave? You are too heartless. You even want to take your sister away. The woman said crying. The two also knew that they would be miserable without a source of income, so their attitudes soon softened. I've asked someone to settle the debt issue. As long as you stop borrowing money, you can survive. But I can't leave my sister behind. You'd better take care of yourself. When she thought about her sister being sold, there was no more mercy in Ainz's heart. She slammed the door shut with a resolute attitude. Two blonde girls, about 5 or 6 years old, held her left and right hands respectively. Sister, let's leave together. Well, let's go together. Arkaho's expression softened and a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Sig looked at this heartwarming scene and murmured, family love. Lupus Regina, why didn't you tell me you were coming? Lupus Regina emerged from the darkness. Sure enough, I can't hide this from Lord Sig. Do you want me to take care of those humans? It seems like it will be troublesome if I keep them around. Although she didn't understand why she should help this human girl, since she was the one Lord Sig wanted to help, she had to solve the problem. Sig said coldly, but let's let those servants go. Killing them all might attract attention. Wait until they leave before taking action. After thinking about it, it turned out that the best solution was to make those two people disappear, so as to avoid any more accidents. Lupus Regina bared her fangs, as you command. The night's slaughter was not over yet. The location was the Singing Apple Pavilion again. The difference from last time was that Archie was not alone this time. Her companions also came with her. Captain Hecarin was a man in his 20s, with the common blonde hair and blue eyes, average looks, and always had a relaxed smile. Overall, he was quite popular with the opposite S*X, but he already had a partner. Imina is a woman with ears that look like elves, but only half the length, and a very slim figure. She does have half forest elf bloodline and is a half-elf. The last one was called Roberdike, wearing full body armor with holy seals all over his body. He looked to be 30 years old and was the elder of the team. Lupus Regina said exaggeratedly, Archie, are you bringing your companions to fight me? How is that possible, Miss Lacey? They insisted on coming with us. Ainz's mental state seemed to be much better. She was full of energy and there was something called hope in her eyes. That's good. If I break the contract, Mr. Eli will be angry. Lupus Regina's expression suddenly became serious, and a hint of cruelty flashed in her eyes. Imina couldn't help but take a step back. Her sixth sense told her that this woman was definitely not someone to be trifled with. In addition to her beautiful appearance, she was definitely very powerful. Arca, who didn't say anything else, and immediately expressed her gratitude, Thank you Mr. Eli for your help. Today I am here to pay you. Sig tapped his fingers on the table and said slowly, Don't be so anxious. Archie shook her head. I must fulfill my promise. To be honest, Archie herself had no value, so there was no point in taking away her life. As for the monetary reward, he had already received it. Although it was not a lot, it was enough. Ainz had happily messaged him about this morning. Mr. Eli, may I interrupt for a moment? Hecarim said with an apologetic smile. Captain. Archie tried to stop him but failed. Sig raised his hand to signal him to continue. What does Captain Hecarim want to say? Mr. Eli doesn't seem to be interested in Archie's life. Although I know this is shameless, she is our precious companion. We really can't bear to see her finally get away from her family and lose everything. Can you give us some time to collect the compensation? After Hecarim finished speaking, he looked at Sig sincerely and bowed to him. The other two did the same. Everyone, please don't be like this. It was clearly my own idea. Ai Shue's face was filled with guilt. As a worker, it was extremely rare for someone to be so responsible to her. How could she still ask for help in paying back the money? She made the decision to give her everything after careful consideration. First, Eli was indeed very powerful. Second, considering that sacrificing her could save her sister, her companions would not be dragged down by her. This was simply the best ending and everyone could live a happy life. Sig pretended to be in deep thought. I am looking for a dragon for revenge. If you really want to reward me, please help me keep an eye out for news. Can I ask what kind of dragon it is? Hecarim searched the memories in his mind. Dragons are the strongest creatures in the world. Because of their strength, they are often regarded as evil enemies. The final enemy of the 13 heroes is the dragon called Shenlong. If this is the case, then the workers should just be a cover, and the target of the 5th level magic caster is the dragon, which makes much more sense. Because the hero's final enemy is usually a dragon, just like the story of a brave man slaying a dragon. Little stars appeared in Archie's eyes. Lord Eli is indeed a hero. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.